Chapter 525. The Yun brothers were dumbfounded. Didn't they say that their father was already at the end of his rope and had no strength to fight back? Didn't they say that the amniotic fluid of a magical beast fused with the spring of life and that he could explode and die at any time? But what was happening in front of them now? You two unfilial sons are truly useless. If something were to happen to me, the residents of Yin would fall into your hands and collapse for sure. It looks like this old man still has to hold the fort for a while. Yunba's face was full of arrogance. The heavenly lightning allowed the two strange forces in Yunba's body to merge into one. At the same time, it also allowed Yunba to comprehend a principle at the critical juncture of life and death. For many years, he had always placed Zhou's state above all else, spilling his blood and sacrificing his head, but neglected the feelings of the people of the Yun residence. His two sons were seen as rebellious by him. But at the most critical moment, both of them stepped forward bravely, using their own flesh and blood to bear the calamity for their useless father. Their actions told Yunba that he was the backbone of the Yun residence. "Dear, I'm sorry, I can't go down to accompany you immediately. Our children still need me." After experiencing a new lease of life, this time, Yunba wanted to protect the entire Yun residence. This time, he wanted to live for his family and the new blood in his body. The touching scene between the father and son trio continued. On the ground, in the ruins of the Yun residence that had almost been razed to the ground, Yun Sheng was squatting in a corner of Yunba's courtyard. She held her magic scepter suspiciously in her hand and muttered, "Oh, my grandmother, don't blame me. Sheng had no choice but to use magic to destroy your memorial tablet." It turned out that the bolt of lightning that struck Madame Yun's memorial tablet was actually an artificial lightning that Yun Sheng had secretly created with lightning magic. When Yun Songhai woke up and Yun Sheng found out that her mother, Hu Jiusheng, was not dead, Yun Sheng had decided to reconcile with old General Yun. So many years had passed since then, so the guilt in Yunba's heart was definitely not small. Just now, when the heavenly lightning struck, he had mobilized the Yun brothers to go into battle. This was also to let the three father and sons experience what it meant to be together in battle. With the strength of the three of them, it would not be difficult for them to withstand the heavenly lightning together. However, what made Yun Sheng so angry that she almost vomited blood was that Yunba was actually indifferent towards the lightning tribulation at first. His expression was one of, "I want to die, don't drag me down." She had no choice but to offend Madame Yun. However, Yunba proved himself to be the older the wiser. He broke through everyone's expectations and successfully broke through to the martial emperor realm. Martial emperors were much more powerful than martial sages. When Yunba appeared in front of everyone again, he no longer looked like an old man in his twilight years. His body had returned to its sturdiness, and his appearance had also become much younger. His originally grizzled hair now had a patch of black at the roots. His current appearance was at most 40 years old. In the sky, the three father and son stared at each other. For a moment, no one knew what to say. "Father." It was Yin Songlong who spoke first. "You will always be our father." "Father." Yin Songhai's tiger-like eyes burned. "This child knows his mistake." Yunba snorted and coldly glanced at the ground. "We are all one family. There is no right or wrong. All of you leave. Don't make my good granddaughter wait anxiously." Three figures streaked across the sky above the Jade capital like shooting stars. At this moment, it also officially meant that the Yun residents, after hundreds of years of loyalty, had finally withdrawn from the Zhou state's political arena. Yun Sheng and her father also buried the hatchet with Yunba. The family was happy and harmonious. Even Yun Songxue and her son returned to the Yun residence to apologize to the old general under Yun Songhai's mediation. Yunba also asked Yun Songxue to call her newly wedded husband back. After the collapse of a Yun mansion, the entire Yun mansion temporarily stayed in the Wu Profound Limitless Hall. After a few years, the family held a family banquet and allowed Yun Sheng to recognize his ancestors and return to his sect. During the family banquet, Yin Sheng specially allowed the old general to drink a lot of wine. After 3 rounds of drinking, Yinba suddenly said, "I have something to announce." Everyone quieted down. "I have already decided. Tomorrow morning, I will leave the Jade capital with Uncle Yun and head to the Jade Boat village area. From now on, I will no longer care about the Zhou state." As soon as he said this, everyone in the banquet hall was astonished. They originally thought that their father was just acting in a moment of anger. They didn't expect that he had already planned to retire. However, could Yunba, who was now a martial emperor, really let go of the great Zhou nation, which was on the verge of collapse? Although they didn't understand, no one tried to dissuade Yunba. They were already disheartened by the Zhou state's emperor. After the banquet, Yun Sheng and Yun Songhai were on their way back to the little Xiantong. Yun Songhai paused. "Sheng father has also decided to leave the Jade capital." Yun Sheng didn't say anything. She already knew that her father would separate from her sooner or later. Today was different from the past. She was no longer the 6-year-old village girl. She had her own plans. She wanted to go to the mainland's magic elite camp to learn more advanced magic. Her father wasn't someone who would stop at nothing. Since he knew that her mother was still alive and that she had forgotten about them, her father must be burning with anxiety. If it wasn't for her grandfather's poison, he would have left long ago. "Father has let you down all these years. I haven't been able to take good care of you since you were born." Yin Songhai felt the most guilty towards his daughter. "Father, you have taught Sheng many things. It was also you who allowed me to have such a big family like the Yun residents. Sheng has never blamed you. If you want to go find mother, Sheng won't stop you. However, just as you asked Sheng not to rashly offend the Zhou state, Sheng also hopes that you won't be reckless." Yin Sheng tried to use a gentle tone to express her feelings of parting with her father. But when she reached the end of her words, her throat choked up and she couldn't continue. Yin Songhai stepped forward and held his daughter in his arms. More than 10 years have passed, and the baby girl has already grown up. She is independent, strong, and has amazing talent. Unknowingly, his daughter has grown up to be slender and elegant. She was no longer the little girl who wrapped around his knees and couldn't walk. "Father promises you that one day, the 3 of us will be together again. If you and I are fated to meet again, we will soon meet again." Yin Songhai also knew that he was not the Zhou state's opponent now, so he planned to sharpen his skills in the mainland. Once he had a breakthrough in his magic cultivation, he would then search for his wife's whereabouts. After knowing that her father wouldn't act rashly, Yin Sheng felt relieved. Chapter 5:26. He learned that when Yunba broke through to Martial Emperor, the Emperor of Zhou State was being intimate with a new beauty. The Emperor of Zhou State's expression changed immediately. His voice trembled as he said, "You said Yunba broke through? How is that possible? He was clearly a cripple. How could he break through again? Quick, send someone to the Yun residence." "No, someone come. I want to go to the Yun residence personally." "Martial Emperor. That was a martial emperor. Zhou State. No, one of the 5 major countries hadn't had a martial emperor for many years. The existence of a martial emperor was enough to keep Zhou State's borders peaceful for decades. The Emperor of Zhou State only had one thought now. Even if he had to invite someone, he had to invite Yunba back. When the Emperor of Zhou State hurried to the Yun residence with a group of courtiers, the huge Yun residence was already empty. There was no trace of Yunba. The 2 doors of the Yun residence were wide open and empty. It was like a smiling face with a cracked mouth, wantonly mocking the Emperor of Zhou State for being blind. "What? You said Yunba of Zhou State broke through." This news flew to Tang Yuan and later Qin as if it had grown wings. The beast blood poison in Yunba's body had been dormant for a long time. He was already 60 years old. Logically, there was no way he could recover. However, not only did he recover, but he also broke through. In a short span of 3 years, not only did the Dezhou country gain a new martial saint, they even gained a martial emperor with even more shocking strength. After hearing this news, the one who wanted to vomit blood the most was none other than the Emperor of Zhou State. 3 years ago, because Yunba had been poisoned by the beast blood poison, he had become a cripple. With Yunba's age, there was absolutely no chance of him recovering. The emperor of Zhou State thought that Yun Songlong was already a miracle. A miracle would never happen a second time. However, the Yun residents once again proved to the world that it was a genius. Zhou State's Yunba broke through to martial emperor. The other major countries, especially later Qin, immediately received the news of Yunba's breakthrough. Later Qin, in the Golden Imperial Palace, a group of courtiers stood to the left and right. A dignified, iron-faced monarch sat on the dragon throne. To the right of the dragon throne stood another person. It was the later Qin crown prince, Duguxiu. Among the 5 great kingdoms, the only crown prince who could stand beside the reigning monarch was the later Qin. From this, it could be seen that Duguxiu's position in the heart of the later Qin emperor was very firm. Your Majesty, Yunba did break through, but he handed over the commander's seal a few days ago and left the Jade capital. The spy from the military brought back the most accurate news. Yi Qingtian has been cunning his entire life. This time, he has really been pecked blind by an eagle. Qin Emperor Duguxiu was surprised at first, but when he heard the whole story, he gloated over Yi Qingtian's misfortune. Martial Emperor. Later Qin lost a martial saint, Tian Kezi, and it was already enough to shake the later Qin's martial world. Now, their archenemy, Zhou State, had lost a martial emperor. It seems like the destruction of Zhou State isn't far away. Xiao, what do you think? Later Qin's emperor was overjoyed. He then looked at Duguxiu. The Dark Crown Prince fell into deep thought. The Qin emperor asked him twice before he came back to his senses. Father, I think so too. The Dark Crown Prince collected his thoughts. After Yunba left, and Yun Songlong established the hunting corps, Zhou State's army only had Marquis Jiyuan left. This person's strength wasn't enough to be feared, and he was also a two-faced person. It would be easy to subdue him. However, the Dark Crown Prince thought that Zhou State's emperor wasn't as simple as he thought. If he was really so stupid, how could he stand out from the other princes and become the emperor of Zhou State? My son, you seem a little absent-minded today. Duguxiu noticed that Duguxiu looked a little restless. No one knew his son better than his father. Duguxiu had never been like this in the imperial court. Father, you're overthinking. I was just thinking about a battle technique I learned in the morning. Duguxiu answered. That's good. Xiu, you're already 20 years old. It's time to choose a crown princess. A few days ago, I mentioned the marriage to you. Have you thought it through? Duguxiu was very satisfied with his crown prince. He and Zhou State's emperor were both emperors, but the crown prince he raised was much more powerful than Yi Qingtian. Yi Qingtian had 3 crown princes, each worse than the last. The first one was blind, the second one was trash, and the third one was just a child. In the Qin emperor's eyes, Zhou State's fate was over. In a few years, later Qin would definitely swallow Zhou State's territory. Father, I'm still thinking. Duguxiu declined. Nonsense. As long as you don't choose a crown princess, you won't have any children. Moreover, no one is more suitable than the princess of the Dongwang dynasty. Duguxiu was dissatisfied. Duguxiu was very satisfied with Duguxiu. The only problem was that Duguxiu didn't have a large harem. As the emperor of later Qin, Duguxiu had always believed that only enough women could give birth to outstanding children. His harem had more than 1,500 concubines and maids, not including the old and decrepit palace maids. He had more than 100 children. Ever since Duguxiu became the crown prince at the age of 13, Duguxiu had bestowed him with many beauties, as well as some beauties from his subjects' territories. Altogether, there were about 180 beauties. Even so, the number of women in Duguxiu's harem was still too small in Duguxiu's eyes. Duguxiu's women had given birth to 2 sons and 1 daughter, but their talents were far inferior to Duguxiu's. Moreover, in the past 3 years, none of Duguxiu's concubines had even gotten pregnant, let alone given birth to an heir. This disappointed Duguxiu. In the final analysis, he thought that it was because these women's bloodline and talent were not enough. As the emperor, Dugu Sheng had spent a lot of effort searching for noble families and even princesses. In the end, he had settled on the only princess of the Dongwang dynasty, Dongwang Ling. Dongwang Ling was the only noble daughter of the Dongwang dynasty. She was of noble status and was said to be very talented in magic. Although the Dongwang dynasty was no longer the dynasty it used to be, it was still the only legitimate dynasty on the continent. The young emperor of the eastern capital was even more prestigious than the emperors of the 5 great kingdoms. He was the only true emperor recognized by the people on the continent. The Qin emperor had long planned that if Dugu Xiu married her, he would be able to gain the support of the Dongwang dynasty and raise the status of the later Qin dynasty. If it was the old Dugu Xiu, as long as it was beneficial to his status and the later Qin dynasty, he would have agreed without hesitation. After all, she was just a crown princess for show. If she was good-looking, he would treat her as one of the beauties in the harem. If she was ugly, he would never favor her. In any case, he would just marry her in the name of Princess Dongwang. But this time, to Dugu Sheng's surprise, Dugu Xiu said that he would consider it. This consideration took him more than half a month, but he still hadn't given an answer. Chapter 5:27. Are you still thinking about it? Xiu, there are many people who have proposed to the East Emperor dynasty. If you delay any longer, this marriage will be canceled. Or do you have a better candidate in mind for the crown prince's wife? The emperor asked suspiciously. Imperial father, do you know what a pair is? Dugu Xiu suddenly asked. A pair? What is that? In this world, only cowardly and useless men can have only one woman. My son is the crown prince of the great Qin dynasty, the future emperor of the later Qin dynasty. How can he only be worthy of one woman? Besides, how can there be such a woman in the world who is worthy of my son? The emperor of the later Qin dynasty snorted. Father, I agree to marry Dongwang Ling. Dugu Xiu stopped asking. That's good. I'll ask the official to send the marriage certificate to the East capital. Dugu Sheng looked satisfied. After the court session, Dugu Xiu was in the practice room. When he heard the news of Yun Ba's breakthrough, there was only one voice in his mind. She was back. She was the only person in the world who could cure Yun Ba's poison. It had been 3 years. In these 3 years, although Dugu Xiu tried to drive Yun Sheng's name and her out of his mind, he would still think of her. Yun Sheng was the first woman who dared to refuse him. It was probably because of this that he could not forget her. At first, Dugu Xiu thought so. However, every time he slept with the women in his harem, he would unconsciously think of the woman under him as Yun Sheng. She was the girl who scolded and scolded angrily, sometimes elegant and sometimes beautiful. 3 years ago, she took advantage of Lord Biming of Zhou State to treat his good intentions as ill intent. At that time, Dugu Xiu was furious. But when he learned that she had disappeared for no reason, Dugu Xiu felt a kind of unprecedented panic. He even used his secret guards to find Yun Sheng's whereabouts without his father's knowledge. But all his efforts were fruitless. But 3 years later, she appeared again. It had been 3 years. What kind of appearance would that girl, whom he both hated and loved, be like? Thinking of Yun Sheng, Dugu Xiu felt as if his heart was being scratched by a cat's paw, which made him uncomfortable. Part of the reason why he had delayed the proposal was because of what Yun Sheng had said. One person for the rest of their lives. If he really did it, would she agree? Unfortunately, Dugu Xiu was the crown prince of later Qin. His father's words made him realize that he couldn't favor only Yun Sheng because of his own preferences. If I can't do it, Yi Biming can't do it either. Yun Sheng, you will still fall into my hands one day. The Dark Prince's expression was uncertain. Not long after Yunba left, Yun Songhai also left early one morning without informing Yun Sheng. He only left a letter for Yun Sheng. Sheng, you've already grown up. Father has nothing to impart to you. Father is going to find a way to save your mother. After you go to the continent's magic elite camp, if you have the chance, you can go to the Heaven's Wings arena to train. Yun Sheng was very clear about her father's intention of leaving without saying anything. Even someone as iron-willed as Yun Songhai would find it hard to accept the moment of breaking up. Yun Sheng carefully put away the letter. She would always remember her father's words. One day, their family of 3 would meet again. Yun Sheng called Lin Yao over. Little Entong has developed very well in the past few years. It's all thanks to you, Yao. In the past few years, when Yun Sheng wasn't around, Lin Yao had indeed worked very hard. She had to take care of the Imperial Magic Academy and little Entong. Because she was worried that she wouldn't be able to take care of both, she simply brought her father to Jade Capital. The father and daughter used all their experience and effort in the early years of operation on little Entong. Coupled with the help of Yao Rong and his wife, little Entong was thriving day by day. In the past few years, the number of medicine men and magic apothecaries recruited was more than a few years ago. Just the roster that Lin Yao gave to Yun Sheng had more than 1,000 alchemists and magic apothecaries. So many people? Yun Sheng looked at the information of these people and frowned slightly. Are these people clean? When the forest was big, there were all kinds of birds. I have investigated most of these people, but I can't guarantee that none of them have sneaked into the Medicine Emperor Pavilion. Lin Yao wasn't completely at ease with these people. But Master can rest assured. The moon god's praise that you left behind before you left was personally taken care of by me. These people won't be able to come into contact with it. And quality is more important than quantity. When I come back this time, I will reshuffle the cards. Yun Sheng immediately did what she said. Immediately gather all the medicine men under you, including alchemists and magic apothecaries. Call all those that you think are reliable and have clean backgrounds. 3 years was enough for Yun Sheng to recuperate. Qi Tian's actions in the past made Yun Sheng realize that it was time to lay her cards on the table with the Medicine Emperor Pavilion. A few days ago, she didn't have time to care about these things because of the Yun residents. But now that the Yun residents had moved, she no longer had anything to worry about. Yun Sheng understood that Rome wasn't built in a day. 3 years ago, it was impossible for the little Entong to catch up with the Medicine Emperor Pavilion. But in these 3 years, the little Entang's free clinic and the magic medicine manners elites flourished day by day. The praise for the little Entong far surpassed the Medicine Emperor Pavilion. Especially with the addition of Yao Rong, some medicine men and doctors who admired Yao Rong in the Medicine Emperor Pavilion turned their backs on the Medicine Emperor Pavilion and joined the little Entong. If it was only 1 or 2, Lin Yao could stop them. But when the number of people increased, Lin Yao was powerless. As a result, there were many medicine men and medicine men in the Medicine Emperor Pavilion, and 40% of them came to join the little Entong. These were all things that Yun Sheng only knew after returning to the little Entong. No wonder there were branches of the little Entong in various places. Most of them came from the Medicine Emperor Pavilion. Unknowingly, the situation of the Medicine Emperor Pavilion gradually reversed. Coupled with the rise of the Sky Hunting Corps, almost the majority of the hunters in the Zhou State's hunting corps exclusively used the medicines of the little Entong. The Medicine Emperor Pavilion suffered from many attacks and was already on the verge of collapse. But even so, a skinny camel was still bigger than a horse. Yun Sheng was clear that if she wanted to get rid of the Medicine Emperor Pavilion, she must start from the root, and that was to defeat the Medicine Emperor Pavilion in terms of medicinal pills. Lin Yao didn't understand what Yun Sheng wanted to do, but she still followed Yun Sheng's order. Within 3 days, all the medicine men and medicine men in the little Entong were called over. In these 3 days, Yun Sheng carried out a special training. I have 2 things here. These 2 things can greatly improve your ability to refine medicine. The 2 things that Yun Sheng mentioned, 1 water and 1 fire, were the karmic fire and the spring of life. Chapter 528. Yun Sheng used the elven hellfire and the spring of life to refine the praise of the moon god, and the grade of the praise of the moon god was directly promoted to a saint rank potion. Correspondingly, when used in the production of other potions or medicinal pills, the effect would be more obvious. Some commonly used potions could even transform 2 grades. However, with the hellfire and the spring of life, no matter what, Yun Sheng was only one person after all. She would soon participate in the assessment of the mainland's magic elite camp, and she would not have much time to stay in Zhou State. Yun Sheng thought that it would be better to train a group of potion masters and doctors who could refine intermediate and advanced potions and medicinal pills. In this way, it would be equivalent to having a large number of Yun Sheng. This point, at first glance, was very inconceivable, but in the hands of Yun Sheng, it was completely achievable. Yun Sheng's experience in the immortal residence, although her magic soul was restricted at that time, the elves of the immortal residence country, when using magic, were indeed incomparable to the magicians of the mainland. Yun Sheng had also seen a lot of interesting magic facilities in the immortal residence country, one of which was the magic storage space. The elves would store their magic power in a specific space, and when it was used, they would release the corresponding magic power. For example, in the Elven King Tree, the palace maids would store the wind magic power in the wind magic space. That way, even in the hot summer, they could use the wind magic space to create all kinds of flowing wind, keeping the palaces of the Elven King Tree cool and comfortable. After Yun Sheng recovered her memory, she immediately thought that since the Hellfire was so powerful, why not combine the magic storage space with the Hellfire? She combined them a few times and successfully created a few fire demon spaces. Lin Yao followed Yun Sheng's instructions and went to the medicinal hall of Wushuan, Everlasting Hall. After being urgently summoned, the pharmacists were puzzled, not knowing who the girl in front of them was. During the rise of the little Entong, except for Lin Yao and the Yao Rong couple, who had seen Yun Sheng, most people did not know Yun Sheng. They thought that the Yao Rong couple was the boss of little Entong. It wasn't until Lin Yao introduced Yun Sheng's identity that everyone knew that this beautiful girl in front of them, who looked no different from a rich family's daughter, was the owner of little Entong. Yun Sheng glanced at the pharmacists and magicians gathered in the hall. These people were all carefully selected by Lin Yao. The Medicine Emperor Pavilion had sent quite a number of herbalists and pharmacists over, and among them, there was no lack of spies. Most of the people who could stand in front of Yun Sheng had clean backgrounds, good records in the past 3 years, and stable alchemy. Most of these alchemists were in their 30s or 40s, which was the peak period of MO apothecaries and doctors. After Yun Sheng's inspection, those magic apothecaries and doctors were still discussing spiritedly, but after being swept by Yun Sheng's gaze, everyone unconsciously kept quiet and didn't dare to speak. They all found that the little boss of little Entong, although she was young and looked to be smiling, but her eyes were like a knife and had a cold aura, making people not dare to look down on her. Everyone is the doctors and MO apothecaries of little Entong. I called everyone here today to inform you of 2 things. First, I have 2 prescriptions here. Each of you will receive one according to the category you're good at. Yun Sheng asked Lin Yao to prepare a lot of small copies, and all of them were piled up on one side. The doctors and MO apothecaries were baffled. They took out a small copy and looked at it. At first glance, those pharmacists and MO apothecaries were taken aback. Surprisingly, all of the manuscripts were filled with prescriptions. Similar prescriptions, in fact, could be found in places like the Medicine Emperor Pavilion and the Magic Temple. All kinds of prescriptions. Magic herbs were magic herbs and pills were pills, but they were not the same. Because these prescriptions that were copied in the small copies not only had the formula, but also the amount of each ingredient was recorded in detail. The amount of each ingredient, from a few taels to a few drops, was very clear. What kind of prescription is this? Concocting pills and demonic medicines is all about one's hands, experience, and control of the flame. How can you just follow these little notes and concoct them? How ridiculous! The people present were all rather famous alchemists and demonic apothecaries in the Great Zhou Empire. Back then, they had left the Dharma Temple and the Medicine Emperor Pavilion in order to pursue freedom. Little Entong had high salaries and relatively loose management, which was what they had been pursuing. Who would have thought that in the past 3 years, the little boss would suddenly come back and strictly control them? Even the refining of pills had to be done according to the small copies, which made these so-called pharmacists and MO apothecaries very dissatisfied. We don't want to do it. If you force us to follow these small copies, we would rather not do it. This place is not suitable for us, so there's a place for us. Several pharmacists took the opportunity to shout. The rest of the pharmacists and MO apothecaries were encouraged, and all of them hesitated. When Lin Yao saw that the pharmacists and MO apothecaries were arguing, she also felt a little uneasy and was about to comfort them. Yunsheng secretly looked at the few pharmacists who took the lead to agitate. She suddenly pulled out her magic scepter. Boom! A fireball exploded, and the surroundings suddenly quieted down. Quiet. Who said that refining pills requires control of the fire and experience? Yunsheng's face was as cold as ice. Her pair of black eyes, like a knife, scraped the faces of the pharmacists and MO apothecaries who were making the most noise. When those pharmacists and MO apothecaries came into contact with Yunsheng's eyes, they felt like they were mute and couldn't even speak. The refining experience of these magicians and pharmacists in the boundless world was very similar to modern Chinese medicine. They paid attention to the complementation of attributes and the coordination of yin and yang. Such a method was feasible for special cases, but Yunsheng, who had been educated in Western medicine, didn't think that pills and magic herbs were the same. The modern Western medicine system paid attention to the accuracy of the medicine. Correspondingly, when producing Western medicine, it was almost like an assembly line production. The advantage of an assembly line production was that the efficacy and dosage of the medicine produced each time were exactly the same, and the production speed was also fast. The reason why Yunsheng used the small manuscript and let each pharmacist and MO apothecary refine the pills and magic herbs according to the prescription and dosage was also to refer to the model of Western medicine. Me too. Under Yunsheng's gaze, two pharmacists and MO apothecaries who were not afraid of death came out. These two people, before joining the little CI Tong, were famous pharmacists and MO apothecaries in the Zhou state. Their reputation was only below Yao Rong and the others. They thought that Yunsheng was just a silly girl who relied on her status as the boss of the little CI Tong to order them around. They were very unconvinced in their hearts and came out. Since that's the case, then let's have a competition. I'll refine the magic potion and the pill at the same time. You two will refine the magic potion and the pill respectively according to the method I wrote in the small manuscript just now. Everyone present will be the judges. Let's see which method will have the better effect. Yunsheng didn't reprimand the two people. She understood that in this case, the only way to convince the crowd was to use the results to speak. Chapter 529. Seeing that a little girl like Yunsheng was challenging two powerful apothecaries and magicians, the crowd of apothecaries and magic apothecaries were all excited and wanted to join in on the fun. Apothecary Lu, Apothecary Li, do us a favor and show the little girl that magic potions and egg potions are not child's play. What's with her handwriting? Let the little girl go to hell. Lin Yao didn't know what Yunsheng was up to. In order to show fairness, Yunsheng asked Lin Yao to prepare the same medicinal herbs and magic materials. Under everyone's watchful eyes, Apothecary Lu, Apothecary Li, and Yunsheng each began to refine their own medicine. Apothecary Lu was an apothecary, so he used a wooden cauldron. Apothecary Li was a magic apothecary, so he used an intermediate-grade magic fire seed. Yunsheng said that it was a competition to refine two types of medicine at the same time, but Yunsheng wasn't anxious at all. She wasn't in a hurry to refine her medicine either. Instead, she leisurely watched Apothecary Lu and Apothecary Li refine their medicine. When the two apothecaries saw that Yunsheng wasn't in a hurry to start and was even staring at them, they thought to themselves, "Little girl, you want to secretly learn from us. It's a pity that you think refining medicine and pills is as easy as you think." The two of them deliberately sped up so that Yunsheng wouldn't be able to observe them closely. Yunsheng watched for a moment. When the two of them were halfway through refining their medicine, she opened her mouth and yawned. You're too slow. If you refine medicine like this, if you encounter an emergency patient, won't the patient die before the medicine is refined? Lin Yao coughed twice and resisted the urge to burst out laughing. But on second thought, there were indeed patients who died because they didn't use medicine in time. As soon as Yun Sheng said this, the two apothecaries were displeased. What do you mean by that? Refining medicine is supposed to be done step by step. Are you saying that you can speed things up? Then I'll show you how I refine medicine, said Yun Sheng as she began to refine her medicine. She drew the bow with both hands, while her left hand picked up the herbs. A cluster of lotus flames lit up in her right hand. Once an expert made a move, one would be able to tell whether or not he was an expert. When Apothecary Li and Apothecary Lu saw Yun Sheng's fire seed, their expressions changed, especially that mage. Just by looking at it, he could feel that the lotus-shaped flame was definitely extraordinary. The elven hellfire was one of the most special flames in the world. It was owned by the Fire Elven Queen, and it was no ordinary flame. After Yun Sheng obtained the Fire of Elves, she used it many times to forge weapons and concoct medicine. Her ability to control fire increased day by day. After she broke through the realm of magic, the Fire of Elves also changed. The fire seed was in the shape of a lotus. From the inside to the outside, the color of the fire changed from red to blue. At the center of the fire, the lotus fire had already turned purple. The red fire was used to melt the herbs and magic materials into a medicinal paste. The blue fire was used to solidify the medicinal paste and evaporate the excess impurities. The purple fire was used to purify and stabilize the medicinal properties. The temperature of the tricolored flame gradually increased from the outside to the inside. When it reached the inner purple flame, ordinary people would be burned to ashes immediately if they got close to it, let alone touch it. However, under Yun Sheng's slender hands, such a dangerous fire seed was like child's play. Not only was the tricolored lotus fire beautiful in appearance, but it was also extraordinary when used to refine medicine and forge weapons. Regardless of whether it was refining pills or medicine, the control of the fire was indeed the main factor. Ordinary alchemists and apothecaries had to change the fire seed during the refining process. This process required a lot of mental and physical effort, and it was easy to cause the medicinal properties to be unstable and affect the final product. However, Yun Sheng had 3 types of fire at the same time, which meant that she could spend more than half of the time compared to others. However, the most important factor for Yun Sheng's fast speed was not the fire seed, but the amount of medicinal materials. She kept throwing materials into the fire seed, and every time she threw in materials, the amount was exactly the same. Before Yun Sheng wrote that small manuscript, she had refined it at least thousands of times. According to the refining process, the optimal amount of medicinal materials needed, and the final product, she had that small manuscript. The alchemists and apothecaries were all dumbfounded. They only saw Yun Sheng's 2 hands moving nonstop like spinning tops. In just a quarter of an hour, Yun Sheng already had 10 medicinal pills in her hands. Another quarter of an hour later, Yun Sheng refined another bottle of magic medicine. As for Lu and Li, they had not finished refining at this time, and both of them were already sweating profusely. Just from the color of the magic medicine and the fragrance of the medicinal pills, everyone already understood that the medicinal pills and magic medicines refined by Yun Sheng were of very high grade. Moreover, the time she spent was only equivalent to a quarter of the other 2 people. She was still fighting 1 against 2. With this kind of alchemy and refining ability, not to mention Zhou's state, even in the whole continent, no one could compare to her. Even if the grade of the medicinal pills was comparable in terms of time, no one could compare to Yun Sheng. The people who originally doubted and ridiculed Yun Sheng now only had one thought, and that was too amazing. We lost. Li and Lu both hung their heads dejectedly and admitted defeat in unison. Yun Sheng also did not have any pride after winning. Very good. I believe that everyone already has no objections. Since that's the case, from now on, follow my instructions and refine medicine according to the method of the small manuscript. The alchemists and apothecaries all came forward one after another. This time, after they took the small manuscript, they no longer had any objections. Yun Sheng also chose 10 people from the 50 magic apothecaries, including the 2 apothecaries who challenged her earlier. These people were left behind alone. Great National Master Yin, why did you keep us here? The one who asked was the magic apothecary, surnamed Lu. He also found out later that the teenage girl in front of him turned out to be Tang Yuan's great national master. I kept you here to teach you the method of refining a more advanced magic medicine. You should have noticed that part of the reason why I was able to refine medicine so quickly was because of my fire seed. Do you want to have this kind of fire seed? Yun Sheng asked. The group of magic apothecaries were all dumbfounded. They naturally also discovered that Yun Sheng's fire seed was very special, but they all felt that it was the great national master Yun's personal fire seed. Even if they were envious, they could not obtain it. Who knew that the great national master Yun would actually say that they could also have such a fire seed? For a moment, everyone was excited. The magic apothecary surnamed Lu was more cautious. He swallowed his saliva. Could it be that we can also have such a fire seed? Of course you can, but if you want this kind of fire seed, you have to take this medicine, Yun Sheng said and took out a bottle of medicine. Chapter 530. I will teach you a way to control this magical fire. However, I can't guarantee that each of you will be loyal to little enchanting. This is a slow-acting poison. After eating it, you will need to take the antidote once a month. If you don't take it, your body will explode. You won't be able to use any method to solve this poison. In this world, only I have the antidote for this poison. Even the light magic of the temple can't cure this poison. The implication was that whoever was willing to take the poison, she would teach them the method to control the karmic fire. This condition couldn't be described as unattractive. After all, although the poison was a poison, as long as they didn't betray little enchanting, they wouldn't be poisoned. However, the several alchemists present hesitated. Alchemist Lu pondered for a moment, then strode forward, took the bottle of poison from Yun Sheng, and drank it in one gulp. Yun Sheng nodded and motioned her to stand aside. She then looked at the remaining 9 alchemists. Among them, 4 or 5 people also stood up and took the poison. We don't want any fire. 3 or 4 alchemists gave up the opportunity. Since you don't want to take it, then forget it. Yun Sheng didn't force them. The alchemists immediately left. Zhou Quan, find a few people to follow them, Yun Sheng coldly said. This time, the inspection was very thorough. The number of alchemists was directly reduced by 60 to 70%. Such an amazing reduction made little enchanting and the entire Zhou state's medical industry couldn't help but raise their eyebrows. But what was even more surprising was that after little enchanting experienced a major reshuffle, the production of medicinal pills didn't decrease. On the contrary, compared to before, the quality and quantity of medicinal pills were greatly improved. Take the most common little enchanting's hemostatic medicine and meditation water, for example. These 2 kinds of medicines were most frequently used by hunters, martial artists, and magicians. As long as it was produced by little enchanting, the efficacy would be 50% better, and the price would be 10% lower than the Medicine Emperor Pavilion and the temple. The worst thing was that the Dharma Temple and the Medicine Emperor Pavilion had no way to find out what happened in the little enchanting that caused such a big change. The Medicine Emperor Pavilion and the Law Temple were shocked. When they wanted to investigate the ins and outs of the matter, they discovered that the spies they arranged in the little enchanting were all gone. Not a single one of them was left. Among them were a few alchemists and demonic apothecaries who were highly regarded by the Medicine Emperor Pavilion and the Dharma Temple. The little enchanting seemed to have become an airtight egg. There was no place to start. Both the Medicine Emperor Pavilion and the Magic Temple were shocked by this discovery. What? Not a single one left. Qi Fangfei was in the Medicine's Sovereign Pavilion. After receiving the news, she flew into a rage. I can't contact any of them? What's going on? Inside the temple, Elder Judge Ming also received the news. Only Xiao Wenxiu did not reveal too much astonishment after hearing this news. She's back? After Xiao, when she received the news, he faintly smiled. It was President Long who wanted to soar into the heavens. Yinsheng, she had returned. The changes in the little enchanting were not limited to this. In addition to unifying and standardizing the production, Yinsheng also began to promote the little enchanting's pills to the continent through the everlasting Chamber of Commerce. With such rapid sales, the name of the little enchanting immediately resounded throughout the continent. After reorganizing the little enchanting, Yunsheng went to the Heaven Extermination Hunting Corps. Counting the time, she had not been to the hunting corps for more than 3 years. During this period of time, when Yunsheng was not around, the position of deputy commander had always been empty. Without Yunsheng, there would be no Heaven Extermination Hunting Corps. Yin Songlong and Zhou Quan immediately returned to the garrison. In the past few years, especially after Yin Songlong broke through to the Martial Saint realm, the Heaven Extermination Hunting Corps' momentum was like a rainbow. At the end of this year, they had the opportunity to become an S-ranked hunting corps. In the past 3 years, the number of hunters in the Heaven Extermination Hunting Corps had expanded by more than 10 times. The hunting corps' camp had also expanded by 10 times. Most of them were new hunters. When they heard the news that young Master Yin was coming back, they were still a little confused. They had heard of young Master Yin before, but they had never seen him in person. They pulled over a few old hunters and asked, "Who is young Master Yin?" "Vice Commander. Vice Commander is back." The old hunters rolled their eyes, implying that they were ignorant and did not even know who young Master Yin was. "Vice Commander is coming back. Why is it more grand than the Commander?" "I was wondering what the Vice Commander looks like. Is he more powerful than the Commander?" The new hunters chattered about the appearance of the Vice Commander. The old hunters kept them in suspense. "You will know when you see him. Young Master Yin is a woman." Woman. When they heard that the Vice Commander was a woman, the new hunters' blood boiled. In the hunting world, there were many female hunters who were Vice Commanders. For example, the hunters of the Wolf Fong Hunting Corps were delicate beauties. They all hoped that their Vice Commander would also be a stunning beauty. "All of you, what are you doing? Why aren't you training?" Zhou Quan caught the group of gossiping new hunters and kicked each of them. Daring to talk about young Master Yin behind his back, this group of people, when they saw young Master Yin, they would know. At this time, Yun Sheng, accompanied by Oriole, arrived at the hunting corps. "Sister Oriole, you're here for inspection again." Huang Ke accompanied Yun Sheng. When they reached the entrance of the hunting corps, they saw a few young hunters approaching them. In the past 3 years, Oriole had grown into an outstanding C-rank female hunter. In the hunting corps, she was also an elder. She relied on her own efforts to learn combat skills in Wushuan Wuji Hall and entered the inner hall. The 3rd chapter of the Dihong song was also refined, and Yunsheng had also taught her the remaining 4, 5, 6 chapters of the Dihong song. Oriole was originally beautiful, and after practicing martial arts, she grew a lot taller. She was different from the thin and weak singer Yunsheng saw in her early years. She had a cheerful personality, and in the hunting corps, there were many young hunters who pursued her. "Hey, big sister Yellow Sparrow, is this little girl your younger sister? She looks pretty good." Seeing that Yellow Sparrow was ignoring them, the group of hunters focused their attention on Yunsheng. With one look, the group of hunters all drooled. What a beautiful girl. When they heard that a beautiful girl had entered the hunting corps, all the single hunters ran out. Oriole was angry and amused at the same time. She was about to explain Yunsheng's identity to everyone. She saw Zhou Quan wiping the sweat off his forehead and running over. "Damn, you little brats. There's a beauty, but you didn't call the captain." Chapter 531. When Zhou Quan saw who it was, he couldn't spit out the word grandpa from his mouth. "Grandpa! Grandpa! Oh my God, young master!" Zhou Quan's tongue was almost tied up. He stuttered for a long time before he managed to form a complete sentence. He had already met Yunsheng a few days ago. However, young Master Yin was busy in Yujing City a while ago. He didn't expect her to come to the hunting corps today. "Captain, Grandpa, Did you see the pretty lady stutter? But Sister Oriole's sister is really pretty. I think she's even prettier than the imperial concubines and empresses in the palace. The hunters didn't care about anything and dared to say anything. Shut up. Zhou Quan was anxious. He jumped up and slapped that hunter. That joking hunter immediately stopped talking. Hello, young master. You're here. Zhou Quan was already a B-rank hunter. He usually acted like a boss in the hunting corps. This was the first time everyone saw him acting like a lackey. All of you, line up and stand at attention. Pay your respects to this young master. Zhou Quan commanded in a loud voice. The hunters finally came back to their senses. This delicate beauty was actually the legendary Yun, who was only second to one person in the Heaven Expedition hunting corps. No, even the captain had to stand aside when he saw her. Young, Grandpa, everyone finally regained their senses. They wished that smoke would come out of their feet. The few hundred people nimbly stood in dozens of rows. All of them puffed out their chests and sucked in their stomachs. They didn't look sideways at all. They were no longer as undisciplined as before. Although everyone was standing, everyone was still muttering in their hearts. This young master looked so delicate. He didn't seem as cruel and inhumane as Captain Zhou described him to be. Yun Sheng was no longer around, but the legends about her had always been circulating in the hunting corps. Offending the captain would only result in death, but offending young Master Yun was a fate worse than death. So these are the new hunters. Very good. All of them are very energetic. I'm very satisfied. Yun Sheng walked in front of her brothers. Her small face was smiling brightly. Looking at the smiling vice-captain, the hunters, especially the young hunters, were so shocked that their eyeballs almost fell out of their sockets. Zhou Quan, on the other hand, had goosebumps all over his body. If yours truly smiled, his life would be over. Oriole, take out the gifts I prepared for everyone. These are the body-strengthening pills that I've personally refined. Only then did everyone know that young Master Yun was actually a famous doctor. Everyone instantly felt deep veneration for him. When Zhou Quan heard this, he could not even straighten his back. The Oriole took out dozens of bottles of medicinal pills marked with the words Little C.I. Entong. The medicinal pills produced by the Little C.I. Entong were first-class goods among the hunters. Usually, one would have to spend a lot of money to buy them. After joining the Heaven Extermination Hunting Corps, he would be able to obtain one for free. This benefit was truly not bad. Some of the new hunters were so touched that they couldn't be more touched. Without even thinking, everyone raised their necks and swallowed the pills. Captain Zhou, this pill is yours. Master specially refined it for you. It's double the dosage. The Oriole pursed her cherry lips, looking extremely evil. Zhou Quan's two legs were like noodles, twitching and twisting. Once the pills entered their stomachs, everyone's expression changed. On the first day that young Master Yun returned to the hunting corps, the Heaven Extermination Hunting Corps was filled with wails and howls. All the hunters who had taken the beast blood pills that Yun Sheng had refined with the Elven Hellfire and Spring of Life were extremely miserable. Master, will they be all right? The Oriole looked outside the tent with a worried expression. The captain had also said that after Master returned, the group's training plan would be handed over to Yun Sheng. They'll be fine. At most, they'll lose a layer of skin. Yun Sheng flipped through the roster of the hunting corps and discovered that the aptitude of the hunters recruited by the Heaven Extermination Hunting Corps was indeed not bad. Furthermore, Yin Songlong's management was very orderly. He had divided the hunting corps into two large groups. One group was made up of martial artists, while the other group was made up of magicians. The martial artists were managed by Yun Songlong, while the magicians were managed by Zhongxi. In terms of numbers, martial artists made up the majority, and magicians only made up about 10%. Master, there's one more thing. Not long after you left for the Immortal Abode, Duke Biming sent 10 hunters back. He said that he promised to help you train them. These 10 hunters are still with Captain Yin. With the Oriole's reminder, Yunxing finally remembered that she had previously selected 10 hunters and handed them to Yi Biming for him to help train them into demon warriors. Yi Biming's plan was to train a group of private guards for Yin Sheng. However, Yin Sheng had refined the eternal magic artifact, Nouveau Riche Gold by chance. Once Nouveau Riche Gold appeared, all the talk about private guards was just a joke. However, Yinsheng was also very curious. How would the demon warriors trained by Yi Baimin be like? How would they compare to the hunters of the Heaven Expedition Hunting Corps? Call those demon warriors over. Also, Zhou Quan and the others should have almost finished fusing with the beast blood. Have them gather 10 people and come over together. Yinsheng immediately found the group of demon warriors together with the Oriole. After the demon warriors received the order, the 10 of them were already waiting in front of the big tent. As soon as Yinsheng came out of the big tent, she felt a cold aura hit her in the face. A row of warriors with golden helmets and golden swords stood in 2 rows on both sides. Yinsheng couldn't help but be surprised. She clearly remembered that the 10 people she had selected for Yi Biming were all hunters who had taken the tribute of the moon goddess and could sense the magic element. However, the group of people in front of him all had imposing auras. Furthermore, they were all about 2 meters tall. Their original faces were almost completely unrecognizable. Their faces were also covered with masks, only revealing their eyes and nostrils. Their eyes were incomparably firm, without the emotional fluctuations of ordinary people. It was as if even if Mount Tai collapsed in front of them, they would not change their expression. Yinsheng and the Oriole stood in the middle of these people. Whether it was their imposing manner or their height, they were much shorter. Not only that, these demon warriors all held magic heavy swords in their hands. Each sword was 50 to 60 kilograms. Yinsheng's eyes lit up. She noticed that the swords in the hands of these demon warriors were not ordinary swords, but magic swords. Every sword was sealed with a dark level spell. Moreover, the strength of these demon warriors was also very astonishing. Yinsheng roughly estimated that the strength of these people was around the martial venerable level, and the magic level was around the master magician level. This was the group of people she had handed over to Yi Biming. Yinsheng's eyes widened. These people were almost like robots. To them, Yinsheng was their only master. Yinsheng's orders were everything. Even if Yinsheng ordered them to immediately draw their swords and cut off their heads, they would not even frown. Yi Biming was too heaven-defying. Chapter 532. How on earth did they train? Yinsheng could not help but secretly swallow her saliva. She was already itching to test the strength of this batch of devil warriors. Young master, I've broken through. Ah! Zhou Quan grinned and laughed loudly, leading a group of hunting brothers over. When he swallowed the beast blood pill earlier, he already knew that it must be the kind of medicine that could cleanse one's marrow and bones, making one beg for death. But what he did not expect was that this kind of pill, which had been strengthened by Yinsheng, had an amazing effect. Zhou Quan broke through to revered martial artist in one go. His group of new hunters also broke through one after another. Compared to the previous breakthrough, this time's breakthrough was much faster, and a part of the effect of the beast blood pill remained in the hunters' bodies. In the upcoming battle, their self-healing ability would also be faster than before. Zhou Quan, you choose a few brothers. Oriole, you lead this group of devil warriors. You 2 teams have a competition. Yinsheng pointed at the group of devil warriors. What? Competition? Zhou Quan was still immersed in the joy of breaking through. When he heard that there was a competition, he looked at Oriole and the group of grotesquely shaped blockheads behind her. Zhou Quan seemed to remember that these blockheads were by the team leader's side. It was just that these people usually stayed in the hunting corps and did not go out on missions. And they were led by Oriole. Zhou Quan revealed an expression of underestimation of the enemy. Young master, this is not good. You see, all of us have just finished strengthening. My brothers have all undergone group combat training. Oriole, she has never led a team before. Oriole was angry when she heard that. Zhou Quan, are you saying that I'm not as good as you? Hey, Miss Oriole, that's not what I meant. If I really hurt you, young master will skin me alive. This battle isn't about the head, it's about this. Zhou Quan pointed to his head. What he meant was that the Oriole hadn't led the battle before and was inexperienced. The group of idiots all had dull eyes. They were all muscle-bound, but simple-minded. Let's not talk about this first. Whichever team loses this time will give me 10 times more training, and the winner will have an extra reward, a special combat weapon. Yunsheng was watching the show from the side. Zhou Quan had been living too smoothly in the Heaven Extermination hunting group these past few years. It was time to give him a beating. When Zhou Quan and the other hunters beside him heard this, they all started to cheer. "Young master, the Oriole can't stand you like this. We all feel sorry for you." The Oriole was also angry. She gritted her teeth and said, "Zhou Quan, do you dare to compete? I'm not even afraid of 10 times the training. If you dare to compete with me, other than this young master's reward, I will agree to your pursuit." Zhou Quan was dumbfounded by Oriole's words. In the Heaven Extermination Hunting Corps, there were many people who chased after the Oriole. Zhou Quan could be considered to be the most ferocious, but the Oriole had always ignored him. If he won today's competition, he would be able to hug the beauty. When Zhou Quan heard this, he immediately became spirited. He rolled up his sleeves and looked very motivated. "Wait," the Oriole blinked. "But if I win, you have to run 10 laps around the Heaven Extermination Hunting Corps' camp naked." This young master had only been back for a few days, but the Oriole had already been led astray. After saying this, the Oriole's face turned red. Zhou Quan was dumbfounded. The hunters were rolling back and forth in laughter. "So be it. In order to get a wife, I'll go all out." Zhou Quan was also very straightforward. He slapped his thigh and agreed. The results of the competition shocked the entire Heaven Extermination Hunting Corps. Under the Oriole's lead, the martial artists of the Devil Clan obtained a complete victory. The 10 martial artists of the Devil Clan were unstoppable. They fought at lightning speed. In terms of magic, they formed a special magic array. Even Yunsheng couldn't understand this magic array. Yunsheng could only be sure that it was a magic array that strengthened one's combat ability. Zhou Quan accepted his defeat wholeheartedly. The 10 hunters were completely defeated. After this battle, the hunters of the Heaven Extermination Hunting Corps were also dumbfounded. They always thought that after joining the Zhou State's Hunting Corps, their strength would be better than others. But until today, they realized that in front of a true expert, their strength couldn't even withstand a single blow. Zhou Quan could only shamelessly run 10 laps around the camp naked. But after that, they began their hellish training. Under the effects of the beast blood pill and training, the strength of the Heaven Extermination Hunting Corps increased by another level. It was also time for Yunsheng to set off for the mainland's magic elite camp. She assigned her 10 martial artists of the Devil Clan to the Oriole. "I'm about to participate in the mainland's magic elite camp selection. It's not convenient for these martial artists to follow me." After the Yun residents left Yujing, Yunsheng also settled the matters of little C.I. Antong and the Heaven Extermination Hunting Corps. She planned to immediately head to the Imperial Magic Academy to participate in the upcoming Imperial Magic Academy examination. With Tyrant Jean protecting her, she didn't need any martial artists of the Devil Clan. If they stayed in the Hunting Corps, they would be a great help. After bidding farewell to the Oriole and the others, Yunsheng brought Tyrant Jean and the magical beasts in the beast speech ring and left. In the Imperial Magic Academy, a few teachers were busy selecting candidates. To other magic academies, the mainland's magic elite camp selection was a kind of glory. But to the Imperial Magic Academy, it was a big headache. Since the last time the Imperial Magic Academy selected 3 students, the mainland's magic elite camp actually agreed to the principal's request to give the Imperial Magic Academy a quota every 3 years. But this quota was not something the Imperial Magic Academy could afford. The Imperial Magic Academy's minimum requirement was to become a master magician. If one's cultivation was not enough, but if one had outstanding performance in other fields, they could also be considered. Back then, Goofing was selected because of his special light magic. But this time, the Imperial Magic Academy was at their wits' end, because in the past 3 years, their entire academy did not nurture a single master magician. As for students with special skills, there was not a single one. Seeing that the examiners of the mainland's magic elite camp were about to come knocking, how could they not be worried? If word got out that the Imperial Magic Academy could not even find a single master magician, how could the Imperial Magic Academy continue to exist? At this moment, Teacher Meili brought a piece of good news. You're saying that Yun Sheng, who was an exchange student back then, is back. When the principal of the Imperial Magic Academy heard this news, he was almost overjoyed, because the two people in the 13th potion group that Teacher Meili had nurtured back then were selected to enter the mainland's magic elite camp. Teacher Meili's status in the Imperial Magic Academy also rose accordingly. Yun Sheng was not an ordinary person. Her two companions were goofing and abandoned. More importantly, Yun Sheng had also created the praise of the moon goddess. Just based on this, the principal was sure that Yun Sheng would definitely be selected to enter the mainland's magic elite camp. A few days later, the examiners of the mainland's magic elite camp arrived. After knowing that the recommended student this time was a potion master who had created the praise of the moon goddess, the examiners accepted Yun Sheng's application without hesitation. Chapter 533. More than 10 days later, Yun Sheng was standing at the border of Zhou State, staring blankly at a notice in her hand. It was easy for her to pass the Royal Magic Academy's examination, but what surprised her was that the other party didn't directly tell her where the mainland's elite magic camp was. They only told Yun Sheng a place, and told her to find a mage named Embark there. They said that she would be able to find the way to enter the mainland's elite magic camp from that mage. Yun Sheng followed the instructions on the notice and walked towards the west of Zhou State. This was a path she had never taken before. Tang Yu, that fellow, had been to this area before because of his exile. Yun Sheng roughly knew the local terrain. It was said that it was the Gobi Desert, which was mainly a desert. But Yun Sheng didn't expect that the place would be so barren. She was surrounded by yellow sand, and a yellow sand city appeared in front of her. If she hadn't come here in person, Yun Sheng wouldn't have thought that there would be such a barren place in the relatively wealthy Zhou State. Tang Yu had also been exiled to this area. Just from this, it could be seen how much the Yun residents had declined in the past. They were both guards sent by the military to Zhou State's border. The nephew of the Marquis of Jiyuan had asked for a lucrative job as a guard near the Purple Gold Mine, but Yun Ba's old subordinates had been given the same treatment as a garrison in such a barren place. Fortunately, old General Yun had already thought things through. Yun Sheng arrived outside the Yellow Sand City and saw a guard dozing off at the city gate. "Big brother, may I ask where Master Embark lives?" Yun Sheng asked. "Embark, are you talking about the blacksmith in the city? He lives in a rundown house at the corner in front." The sleepy guard couldn't help but be suspicious when he saw that the person asking for directions was a young and beautiful female mage. This Embark was an old bachelor. He didn't know what kind of luck he had these past few years, but young mages who were dressed well kept coming to look for him. Yun Sheng inquired about the direction and was about to leave. Two well-dressed young magicians with travel-worn faces walked over. Similarly, they were also here to inquire about Grandmaster Emog's whereabouts. "Looking for Embark again. There, that girl is with you. Follow her, and you'll find Embark," the guard muttered. He closed his eyes and went back to sleep. There were two magicians, one male and one female, who both looked about 15 or 16 years old. The female's appearance could be considered decent, but her pair of slightly harsh eyes greatly reduced the impression she gave others. As for the male magician, he was a man of striking appearance. Judging from their dressing, they didn't seem to be from Zhou State. Yun Sheng didn't find this strange. There weren't many magicians in Zhou State, and there were even fewer people who could enter the mainland's magic elite camp. 3 years ago, 3 people had passed the examination at once. At that time, it had caused quite a stir in the continent. When a male magician heard that someone was traveling with him, he was about to ask when he saw Yun Sheng standing at the city gate. When a male magician saw Yun Sheng's fairy-like face, his eyes were filled with envy. He stuttered when he asked, "Miss, could it be that you're also going to the mainland's magic elite camp?" The male magician's appearance made the female magician beside him a little unhappy. She looked at Yun Sheng's beautiful face with jealousy and snorted. Yun Sheng wasn't surprised. Her face, which was becoming more and more similar to Hu Jiuxing, had caused her a lot of trouble along the way. Most of the people fled in fright after she flashed the Heaven Extermination Hunting Unit's medallion. After all, within the borders of Great Zhou, the Heaven Hunting Legion was extremely famous. However, these two magicians were obviously from another country. It was very likely that they would become colleagues in the future. Yinsheng finally opened her mouth. Yes, we're students selected by Zhou State's Royal Magic Academy to enter the mainland's Magic Elite Camp. We received a notice and came here for the first round of examination. Every student who was recommended to enter the mainland's Magic Elite Camp had to pass the first round of examination, even if they passed the recommendation. This round of examination was mostly made up of teachers from the Magic Elite Camp who disguised themselves as commoners. They were distributed in every corner of the mainland. They looked very ordinary and could be ordinary old men, women, or even children. However, if they didn't pass the examination, they wouldn't be able to enter the mainland's Magic Elite Camp. Therefore, this round of examination was also called the teacher examination. Every teacher would provide different examination opportunities according to the different magic attributes of the students. When Yunsheng participated in the recommendation, she applied as a fire and wind magic master. She received a notice to go to Yellow Sand City to find Mo Ge. These two magicians were obviously the same. When they heard that Yunsheng was a student of Zhou State's Royal Magic Academy, they immediately laughed. That mean female magician actually laughed out loud. The Zhou Dynasty's Imperial Magic Academy. Isn't that a third-rate academy? I heard that the Royal Magic Academy is the only magic academy that relied on the school building to become an advanced magic academy. When Yunsheng heard this, she couldn't help but frown. As for the Royal Magic Academy, it was indeed because of the magic tower in the academy that they were qualified to become an advanced magic academy. However, it wasn't as bad as the outside world said. After all, Yunsheng's father, Yun Songhai, was one of the earliest students of the Royal Magic Academy. There was also Teacher Mary. Her research on magic potions was very unique. In this generation of young people, including Yunsheng, Gufeng, and Abandoned, the magic that they learned all had their own merits. Although Yunsheng didn't have particularly strong feelings for the Royal Magic Academy, she was still a student of the Royal Magic Academy. Being insulted in front of her like this, she naturally felt uncomfortable. When a male magician heard that Yunsheng was a student of the Royal Magic Academy, he was also somewhat surprised. However, he still glanced at Yunsheng's face longingly. Yali, don't speak nonsense. The Royal Magic Academy isn't outstanding in magic, but I heard that the Royal Magic Academy has produced a magician who can make high-grade magic potions. The so-called high-grade magic potion was referring to the moon god's praise. Who knows if the Royal Magic Academy deliberately found someone to make it for the sake of fame. The Royal Magic Academy has never even announced the name of the magician who made the potion to the outside world. The magician called Yali had a look of disdain on his face. Well, the Royal Magic Academy's reputation was really bad. Even the only magic potion that they could make was said to be made by someone else. Hee, that's really unfortunate. I just happen to be from the Royal Magic Academy's magic potion department. Yunsheng smiled insincerely. Chapter 534. Of course, Yunsheng would not reveal that she was the potion master who refined the tribute of the moon goddess. Once they heard that the other party was a potion master from the imperial school, the atmosphere between the two parties became awkward. Su Yali muttered in her heart. She did not expect that Yunsheng was a potion master. Miss, I'm really sorry. Xiaoya's temper is like this. We are magicians from Tang Yuan. My name is Su Chao, and this is my sister, Su Yali. We are all recommended by the mainland's elite magician camp to come to Yellow Sand City to take the examination. Since we are on the same path, why don't we go together? Su Chao and Su Yali were both fire attribute magicians. Yunsheng did not object. It could be seen that Su Chao had a good impression of Yunsheng, but Yunsheng was indifferent. As the three of them walked together, Su Chao kept talking to Yunsheng, but Yunsheng ignored him. After a while, Su Chao became a little resentful. Big brother, why are you so attentive to that woman? Isn't she just a little good-looking? Suyali's face was full of dissatisfaction. She was jealous that Yunsheng was prettier than her, but what was the use of being pretty? Magicians paid attention to magic, especially after entering a place like the mainland's elite magician camp. Strength was everything. The other party also said that she was a potion master. Looking at her magic scepter, there were only 3 magic soul stones on it. One had to know that her and her brother's magic cultivation was higher than hers. Although Yunsheng had broken through to become a saint magician, in the 3 years of her blank memory, she did not practice magic. So in all kinds of magic, she was temporarily stuck at the level of a master magician. Su Chao's thoughts were seen through by his sister, and his ears turned red. What nonsense are you talking about? I just hit it off with Miss Yin. You didn't even say a word for half a day? That's called hitting it off? Su Yali said disdainfully. Her brother was born in the Tang Yuan aristocratic family, and was also an extremely powerful magician. That Yunsheng didn't even have enough time to curry favor with him, yet she dared to snub her brother. Su Yali thought to herself that when they met Grandmaster Mo Go later, they would definitely be assessed. During the assessment process, she would make Yunsheng fail. The 3 of them each had their own thoughts as they walked through Yellow Sand City. Yellow Sand City was also in a remote area. It was a medium-sized city, but there were only a few decent houses inside. There were only a few brick houses that looked like they would collapse at any moment. Along the way, they didn't see many people. After turning a corner, they saw a blacksmith's forge. This blacksmith shop gave Yunsheng a very familiar feeling. It was as if she had returned to Tai Gang's blacksmith shop in Banana Leaf Village. Excuse me, is Grandmaster Mogu here? Su Chao stepped forward and asked. In the blacksmith shop, there was only a sweaty blacksmith. At this moment, he was panting as he hammered iron. Hearing the question from outside, the blacksmith didn't turn around. Damn bellows, it's not good at all. Boy, don't just stand there. Pull the bellows for me. Su Chao was stunned. He looked at the side of the furnace. There was a dirty bellows that was half the height of a person. That bellows was really big, half the height of a person, and the pole was as thick as 2 people's arms. Su Chao had never done this kind of rough work at home. He wanted to refuse, but was stopped by Yunsheng with a look. Yunsheng pointed to the bellows. The skin of that bellows is made from the skin of a rank 8 magical beast. This blacksmith is not an ordinary person. Yunsheng's eyesight was much better than the Su siblings. She lowered her voice and spoke, but her words reached the blacksmith's ears without missing a word. That blacksmith thought to himself that there was someone with good eyesight. When Su Chao heard Yunsheng's words, he also knew that this blacksmith must be extraordinary. He didn't care about the dirt and tiredness. He squatted next to the bellows and used all his strength to pull the bellows. You 2 little girls, why are you standing there? Help me carry the firewood and make a fire. This blacksmith also knew how to order people around. Yunsheng rolled her eyes and obediently went to carry the firewood. Although Su Yali was unwilling, after thinking about it, she still did it. The 2 people carried some firewood to the side of the furnace. Su Yali wanted to curry favor with the blacksmith, so she couldn't wait to put the firewood into the furnace. Who would have thought that after she put in a few pieces of firewood, the furnace, which was still burning, suddenly had a burst of black smoke and the fire was extinguished. Cough, cough. What kind of broken firewood is this? It can't make a fire. Su Yali was a rich young miss. When had she ever suffered such grievances? She couldn't stand it anymore. She threw the firewood away and began to curse. A big slap came over, and Su Yali was slapped away. She rolled onto the street, her body covered in dust. When Su Chao saw this, he hurriedly went forward to help his sister. The blacksmith turned around and saw that he had a purple face and a tall and sturdy body. He was at least 2 meters tall and looked like a moving giant. He had a full beard on his face and didn't look like a blacksmith. He looked more like a butcher. Of all the sorcerers Yunsheng had met, there was no one like him. You dare to hit me. Su Yali's face was slapped like a steam bun. 2 of her teeth were knocked out and her hair was messy. She looked very miserable. I am a Moga. You guys are new students. Humph, do what I tell you to do. You can even make firewood. Useless. Who told you to let go of the bellows? Scram, you two are no longer qualified to participate in the continent's Magic Elite Camp assessment. Emogu also had a fiery temper. Just like that, the Su siblings lost the opportunity to enter the continent's elite camp. Su Chao's face was gloomy. He helped Su Yali up and wanted to leave. What damnable assessment? What about her? She didn't do anything. Even though Su Yali was chased away, she still wanted to drag Yunsheng down with her. Yunsheng didn't say a word. She just casually picked up a piece of firewood. The magic elements in her hand wrapped around the wet firewood. A reddish fire magic element quickly wrapped around the firewood. The moisture in the firewood was dried in a cup. Yunsheng then started a fire and quickly reignited the stove. This series of actions seemed very simple, but the mystery behind it wasn't something that everyone could understand. To be able to subtly extract the moisture in the firewood without igniting it, Yunsheng's ability to control fire was evident. You guys forgot that you guys are magicians, Yunsheng said indifferently. Yunsheng had experience in collecting firewood in the past. She knew that the firewood in this season was easily damp. She needed to dry the firewood first. Seeing the fire magic element fluctuation in Yunsheng's hand, Emoji's interest was piqued. Not bad. The little girl's ability to control magic is still acceptable. You too, Scram. If you don't scram, I'll let you know what it means to never return. The Su siblings could only dejectedly leave. Chapter 535. After chasing the Su brothers away, Imoga no longer paid any attention to Yunsheng and continued to forge. Yunsheng was a living person, yet he directly ignored her, which made Yunsheng a little depressed. Yunsheng looked around the blacksmith shop, but did not see any space-time magic array. It was said that the space-time magic array could only be activated through the guidance of each guide. Yunsheng recalled that the notice clearly stated that the entire reporting period was 6 months. So, she must have to pass some tests before she could see the space-time magic array. Yunsheng tried to greet Emogu again, but Emogu was like a rotten egg with no seams, smelly and hard, and ignored Yunsheng. Yunsheng threw the firewood into the furnace, bored to death, and looked around. She quickly discovered that this blacksmith shop was not ordinary. It looked like a very ordinary blacksmith shop, but the weapons hanging here were not ordinary. The weapons were bows, spears, swords. Each style was very simple, but on each weapon, there was a flow of magical elements. There were also some armors. On the armors, there were also different magical effects. For example, there was a fiery red copper armor on the side, as if there were clouds of fire lingering around it. Yunsheng was sure that this was an armor with the fire attribute. As long as it was worn, even if it was a warrior, it could withstand a powerful fire magic attack. This was a magic weapon? Yunsheng quickly realized this point. This man called Mo-gu, who seemed to have a very bad temper, was actually an outstanding magic weapon master. Moreover, he was a master who could create magic weapons, which was very rare on the continent. Magic weapons were a very special kind of weapon. It could integrate a part of the magic power into the weapon. The warrior who obtained the magic weapon, when attacking, would have a certain magic attack effect. Compared to ordinary weapons, the magic weapon's lifespan and attack power were longer. The continent's magic elite camp was indeed not simple, just a guide, but he was such a powerful magic weapon master. Yunsheng couldn't help but think of the demon's sealing arrow that she had learned in the elves. The magic bow and arrow used in the demon sealing archery was a kind of magic weapon. Although Yunsheng had learned the demon sealing archery, she still didn't know how to forge magic weapons. Elves were a very talented race. Not only were they good at singing and dancing, but they could also make delicious elven fruit wine. Most of the elven weapons made by elven craftsmen were also top-quality weapons made by gods. When Yunsheng was in the elf clan, she accompanied Divine Wind all year round and had seen many well-designed elven weapons. This also gave Yunsheng the opportunity to come into contact with elven weapons that were unknown to the outside world. Yunsheng's memory was amazing. She remembered many kinds of magic weapons and even the manufacturing process of magic armor, ceremonial robes. Seeing Yun Sheng staring at the weapon on the wall in a daze, Moses snorted, "Little girl, you must be dumbfounded. Have you ever seen such a powerful magic weapon? It's just passable. Although the forging process is good, the design of the weapon is too bad." Yun Sheng pursed her lips. She actually disliked Moge's craftsmanship. Yun Sheng was used to seeing the uncanny craftsmanship of the elves, so Moge's craftsmanship didn't catch Yun Sheng's eye. Moge was so angry that he shouted. He waved a hammer in his hand and almost smashed it towards Yun Sheng. If it wasn't for the fact that there were too many new recruits in the continent's magic elite camp that he had chased away recently, he was afraid that he wouldn't even be able to recruit a single person. He really would have used the hammer to smash Yun Sheng's little head. This little girl's brain must have been kicked by a mule. She actually dared to disdain his craftsmanship. As the only magic weapon craftsman in the continent's magic elite camp, Moge's fiery temper was a little famous in the entire camp. Isn't that right? Compared to the elves' elven armor, look at your armor. Can this be considered armor? It's clumsy and crude, and it's for magicians to wear. How many magicians can bear 50 to 60 kilograms of armor? Yun Sheng said in disdain as she tugged at one of the sets of armor. The armor that Yun Sheng was gesturing at was a heavy armor. It was also the armor that Moge was most proud of in the entire blacksmith shop. He had used a special method and spent more than a year to meticulously forge this magic helmet. Wearing this armor, except for special light and dark magic, all other magic attacks could be blocked. When the invincible magic armor was forged, a minter from the continent's magic elite camp wanted to buy it at a high price, but Moge refused. "What? You said you have seen elven armor before? Who are you?" When Moge heard that Yun Sheng had seen the elves' craftsmanship, his face immediately changed. "My name is Yun Sheng. I'm a new student going to the continent's magic elite camp to study. I lived in the Immortal Keeper Nation for 3 years in my early years, so I have some understanding of elven craftsmanship." Yun Sheng patiently explained. Moge didn't believe it. He shook his head and said, "Little girl is too cunning. You actually dared to deceive this old man. I know, you must be a spy sent by my opponent. You are clearly a human, so how could you live in the Immortal Keeper Nation?" The entire continent knew that the elves of the Immortal Keeper Nation were xenophobic. Although Yun Sheng was extraordinarily beautiful, she was still a human. Besides, even if she had some elven blood, most of the elven craftsmen only worked for the royal family. Chapter 536. Suddenly, Moge jumped up and danced with joy while shouting, "That's right, this really is the elves' craftsmanship. Girl, no, master, teach this craftsmanship to me. This old man will agree to any condition you have." Moge was also a weirdo. He was several times older than Yun Sheng, but now he was calling her master. There was no order of seniority at all. Yun Sheng felt that this master Moge was really funny. He was like a child, temperamental. One moment it was raining, the next it was raining. She originally wanted to say that she only knew a little about the elves' craftsmanship, but she could give the elves' armor to Master Moge. As long as he carefully analyzed that armor, with Moge's many years of craftsmanship experience, it wouldn't be difficult to figure out the mystery. But after thinking for a while, she suddenly remembered her 1,000-year-old ice zither. "Grandmaster Moge, there's nothing special about the elven race's craftsmanship. Teaching you is as easy as lifting a finger, but I do have something to trouble you with." Yun Sheng took out her 1,000-year ice zither. Once the ice zither was taken out, even the picky Moge couldn't say anything. That zither was perfect and flawless. It was carved out of the best 1,000-year-old ice. The strings were made from the hair of an unknown magic beast. The whole zither had a special charm. If Moge had doubts about whether Yun Sheng knew elves' craftsmanship before, but when he saw this zither, he was 70 to 80% convinced that Yun Sheng really knew elves' craftsmanship. "Master Moge, I want you to help me add a magic sealing effect to this zither." Yun Sheng stroked the zither strings. Ever since she knew Hu Jiuxing's identity, Yun Sheng had a special feeling for this zither that had a special meaning. She learned the magic sealing arrow technique, but the magic sealing arrow technique was an archery technique unique to the elves. After she left the elf kingdom, she didn't plan to use a bow anymore. If she could add a magic sealing effect to the zither, then when she used it, it would be more effective. Magic sealing effect. Master, you're really asking for too much. Do you know that the magic sealing effect is the most complicated of all the effects of magic? Mo clicked his tongue. He couldn't tell that this little girl, who looked so delicate and pretty, had such a black heart. A magic weapon with a magic sealing effect could be said to be something that all mages dreamed of. It wasn't that Mo didn't know how to do it, but to add a magic sealing effect without damaging the zither itself, the difficulty was not small, and the price to pay was too high. It was equivalent to asking Mo to put down all his work for the next month. Yin Sheng had already guessed that Mo would not agree so easily, so she did not try to persuade him. Instead, she walked over to the stove. Casually, she pointed her magic scepter into the furnace, and an unusually colorful flame in the shape of a lotus jumped into the furnace. The fire in the furnace quickly underwent a qualitative change. The entire furnace was being burned by the raging fire, emitting a sizzling sound. Of course, that's elven hellfire. Seeing the beautiful flame tumbling in the furnace, the shape of the flame was like a slowly blooming lotus. The temperature of the flame was not small, and one could tell that it was a rare flame at a glance. Mo recognized the true origin of this flame at a glance. It was actually the rare elven hellfire in the world. Mo couldn't hold it in any longer. He immediately rushed to the front of the furnace, his eyes wide open and his mouth wide open. What was even more exaggerated was that there was saliva dripping from the side of his mouth, just like a starving beggar who saw a table of sumptuous dishes. Elven hellfire was known as the rarest flame in the boundless land. Any potion apothecary, alchemist, and weapon refiner dreamed of this flame because the elven hellfire could easily raise the quality of elixirs, magic potions, and magic weapons by a level. Mo himself was a fire mage, but his fire element was nothing in front of the ferocious elven hellfire. Yun Sheng kept her magic scepter, and the fire immediately extinguished. Don't keep it. Mo's face was infatuated. He didn't care that he was a weapon refiner, and immediately grabbed Yin Sheng without letting go. What's your name again? Yin Sheng? No, Little Ancestor Yin. I'll call you Little Ancestor. Help me look after the fire for a month, just 6 months. As long as you help me look after the fire for 6 months, don't talk about zither or magic weapons. I'll give them all to you. 6 months, Yin Sheng frowned. Thinking about it, the Magic Elite Camp's reporting time limit seemed to be 6 months. She reluctantly haggled with Mo and finally settled on 5.5 months. Yin Sheng nodded with satisfaction. 5.5 months passed very quickly. Yin Sheng stretched and wiped her dusty face. Mo, that guy who didn't know how to be gentle with women, completely ordered her around like an animal. What using wind magic to pull the bellows, what using the elven hellfire to ignite, what finding ores, what refining ores, everything was taken care of by Yin Sheng. However, it was also because of this that Yin Sheng had a new understanding of weapon refiners. She and Mo got along surprisingly well, and on the day of parting, Mo was actually somewhat reluctant to part with her. If it wasn't for the fact that Yin Sheng couldn't learn advanced magic from him, he really wanted to keep Yin Sheng. In these 5.5 months, she was really tormented to death by this old guy, Mo. Not only did he learn the elven race's armor manufacturing, using the elven hellfire to refine 30 elven armors, but Mo also improved Yin Sheng's Millennium Ice Zither according to the agreement. Here, this is the ice zither that this old guy has modified. Remember to use it, then tell me if you want to improve it or not. Mo looked at the ice zither. He had integrated a part of the exquisite multicolored jade essence into the ice zither. After adding this multicolored jade essence, the ice zither became more graceful and could also change its size according to Yin Sheng's thoughts. It was somewhat similar to Yin Sheng's exquisite beast pagoda. But the biggest change in this ice zither was not only the body, but also its strings. The strings were still made from Hu Jiuxing's hair, but Mo had added magic and wind magic to the strings. Master, thank you. The reporting time is almost up. I have to rush to the continent's magic elite camp. Yin Sheng's words of gratitude were sincere. She was also very reluctant to part with this master refiner who had a fiery temper on the outside, but was actually as simple as a child on the inside. But all good things must come to an end. Hey, old guy, I really can't bear to part with you. Tell me, what is your purpose in entering the continent's magic elite camp? Although Mo and Yun Sheng were very congenial, he didn't forget his identity as the guide of the continent's magic elite camp. Chapter 537. Every student of the mainland's magic elite camp must have an upright mind and not be afraid of hardship or fatigue. This was the reason why the mainland's magic elite camp set up a guide and why they chose Mo as their guide. Last time, when the Su siblings came to the blacksmith shop, Su Yali seemed to have a fiery temper and bad intentions. As for her brother, he seemed to be an honest person. Such a person did not meet the standards of the mainland's magic elite camp. With his temper, he probably wouldn't survive the first day in the mainland's magic elite camp. Mo and Yun Sheng had been together for a while. He had observed Yun Sheng. This child was not only meticulous, but also very alert and two-faced. She could control the hellfire of the fairies, so there was no need to talk about her magical talent. That left the last test, which was the purpose of her learning magic. For many years, the mainland's magic elite camp had been pursuing a higher level of magic. Every student who entered the camp had a different purpose. When Mo asked Yin Sheng pondered for a while. I want to learn dark magic. Yin Sheng did not avert her eyes, nor was she timid. Dark magic. Mo did not expect that Yun Sheng's purpose was actually this. Why dark magic? You should know that dark magicians have a bad reputation on the mainland. You can control the hellfire of the fairies, so you can learn more advanced fire magic. Due to Mo's own cultivation, he had not been able to make any major breakthroughs in fire magic. Therefore, he had become a master refiner. His goal was to maximize the effectiveness of his fire magic. He saw the potential of an excellent master blacksmith in Yun Sheng. With Yun Sheng's own conditions, she had the potential to become an even better master blacksmith than Mo. Master, that is the misunderstanding of the world towards dark magic. In my opinion, dark magic is destructive and dangerous, but if it is used to protect the people important to you, then it is not dark magic. Yun Sheng said frankly, my magic is used to protect the important people around me. This has nothing to do with the nature of the magic itself. Yun Sheng's real purpose of entering the mainland's magic elite camp is to protect the people who are important to her and take her mother back from the Zao state as soon as possible and find out the truth behind her mother's amnesia. Mo was silent for a moment. Then he took out 2 elven magic robes. One of them was the one that Yun Sheng had given to Mo from the Immortal Keeper Nation, and the other was a magic robe made from the skin of a high-quality light rat. Here are 2 elven battle robes. I'll return one to you. As for the other one, take it with you and give it to a mage called Dark Gold. If you want to learn dark magic, remember to look for that Dark Gold guy when you reach the magic elite camp. Perhaps her temper is a bit strange, but little girl, you have to believe me. She is the most unique existence among dark magicians. Yun Sheng took the 2 elven magic robes and bowed to Mo. She truly admired this old man. Master, I have a bottle of water of life from the elves. It will be good for your body. Yun Sheng took out a bottle of water of life and gave it to Mo. You can go now. I've already activated the teleportation array. It's behind the house. Also, remember to take that cumbersome magic helmet with you. Give it to that silly boy you mentioned who is a dual cultivator of magic and martial arts. Mo buried his head in the forging again, no longer paying attention to Yun Sheng. The magic helmet he was talking about was the one that Yun Sheng had previously disliked. It was a helmet that could defend against nature magic. Yun Sheng had unintentionally mentioned to Mo that she had an old friend who was a dual cultivator. He was also trained in the warrior elite camp, and even knew some magic. She was naturally talking about Yi Baiming. After Yun Sheng returned to Zhou State, she hadn't contacted Yi Baiming for the past 6 months. This time, she wanted to give him a mischievous surprise when she reported to the elite camp. Yun Sheng took the magic helmet and walked out of the blacksmith shop. Sure enough, there was a magic array next to a prickly jujube tree in the back. Yun Sheng turned around to look at the blacksmith shop. She couldn't help but feel a bit reluctant when she heard the sounds of hammering. Forget it. There will be a chance to meet again in the future. Yun Sheng stepped into the space-time magic array. The moment she entered, there was a burst of sniffling in the blacksmith shop. The magic array of the Continental Magic Elite Camp was different from any of the space-time magic arrays that Yun Sheng had experienced before. It was completely dark inside, and she couldn't even see her own fingers. She didn't know how much time had passed before she smelled the fresh fragrance of flowers. The darkness in front of her dissipated, and she was already standing in the midst of birds and flowers. The elite camp had always been famous on the mainland, but the strange thing was that even the students of the elite camp couldn't tell the specific location of the elite camp. Some people said that it had already exceeded the territory of the Boundless Land. Some people simply said that it was located on an island like Penglai. This was because the passage to the elite camp had always been a special magic array. After the students entered the elite camp, they were not allowed to go out easily unless they performed meritorious deeds or went out for training. The elite camp used a closed teaching method. It was not like the general academies or martial arts centers that had half-yearly holidays. Some people who joined the elite camp might not even be able to return once in more than 10 years. Like Yi Baiming, he had been in the elite camp for 3 years, but he didn't return to Zhou State even once. This time, Yun Sheng had come to the magic elite camp to prepare for a long battle. If she didn't learn dark magic well and couldn't break through the bottleneck of the Sky Magician, she didn't plan to leave the elite camp. There was a crossroad under her feet. Around it were lush trees with all kinds of unknown flowers. From the fragrance of the flowers, it must be some precious herbs. There was a road sign on both the north and south sides of the road. On the road sign, there was a road sign. The road sign to the north said, Elite Camp of Martial Artists. The road sign to the south said, Elite Camp of Magicians. Just by looking at it from the outside, Yun Sheng was completely unable to connect this tranquil and beautiful forest with the famous elite camp of the continent. It seemed that the two ends of this road were the elite camp of magicians and the elite camp of martial artists. Yun Sheng counted the days. It had been almost 6 months since she received the notice. She had to leave and go to the elite camp of magicians to report, thinking that she would be able to see Gufeng and Abandon soon. Yun Sheng was a little excited. As for Yi Baiming, she would go to the elite camp of martial artists to find him after she settled down. Yun Sheng made up her mind and walked towards the south of the road. Facepalm, I spent a lot of money. Everyone who tipped me recorded in the little red book. It's like the benefits of the Lotus brand. If you want the coquettish Foxman to make a flashy appearance, quickly smash him with a monthly ticket. The fiercer you smash, the more glamorous your appearance. Chapter 538. After walking for about a mile, Yun Sheng saw a magnificent academy. When she saw the continent's magic elite camp, Yun Sheng had always thought that the Imperial Magic Academy was the most impressive academy in the continent. But today, when she saw the continent's magic elite camp, Yun Sheng knew that in front of the continent's magic elite camp, the Imperial Magic Academy was nothing. The outside of the continent's magic elite camp was a forest, but inside, it was surrounded by clouds and mist. Yun Sheng looked around, but she couldn't see how big the magic elite camp was. But one thing was for sure, the magic elements in the surroundings were very rich. Compared to the magic elements that Yun Sheng felt on the 6th floor of the Magic Tower in the Imperial Magic Academy, the magic elements were much richer. Just the outside was already so rich in magic elements. One could imagine how rich the magic elements would be in the core area of the Magic Elite Camp. No wonder so many people wanted to squeeze into the Magic Elite Camp. Yun Sheng was just about to walk towards the main entrance of the Magic Academy when she suddenly saw a magic fluctuation on her left side. A girl in red walked out from the magic array. It seemed that this was also a female student who had just arrived to report to the magic elite camp. When Yun Sheng saw the girl, she felt that she was somewhat familiar. The girl's appearance was very beautiful, like a ball of intense flame. Her skin was white, and she was slightly shorter than Yun Sheng. But it was a pity that such a beauty was cold. She also noticed that there was someone beside her, but she just walked straight past without even saying a word. Yun Sheng was still trying to recall where she had seen this girl before, when suddenly there were a few rustling sounds. A few tall and handsome-looking martial artists rushed out from the side of the road. When they saw Yun Sheng and the girl in red, their faces were filled with ecstasy. I say, our luck is not bad. It's already the last few days, and we actually met two peerless beauties. A few martial artists spoke like a hooligan, but the doqi emitted from their bodies was not simple at all. Yun Sheng looked at them and saw that they were all early-stage marquee martial artists. Looking at their appearances, they were at most 16 or 17 years old. How could they have such cultivation? The red-clothed girl was also moved, but when she looked at the cultivators, there was only pure disgust in her eyes. Yun Sheng stepped forward and said, "You must be the teachers of the warrior elite camp. We are new students. It's getting late, so please step aside and let us pass." That's right. We are the senior brothers and sisters of the mainland's warriors elite camp. What are your names? Do you want to give them to your friends? Several cultivators couldn't wait and scrambled to get to know Yun Sheng and Yang Kai. The expressions of Yun Sheng and the girl in red changed slightly. How could this group of people from the elite camp be so frivolous? If it weren't for their cultivation, Yun Sheng and the others would really think that they were lechers on the streets. Yun Sheng and the red-clothed girl were newcomers. They didn't know that because the elite camp was very close to each other, there were many connections between the mainland's magic elite camp and the mainland's warriors elite camp. This connection was related to the composition of the mainland's warriors elite camp. Similar to the Wushuan Limitless School, the ratio of men and women in the warriors elite camp was very unbalanced. The ratio of male elite martial artists was as high as 10 to 1. Moreover, most of the female martial artists were dinosaur class. Even if there were occasionally some who looked like flowers in the moon, they were quickly snatched away by other martial artists. What was even more ridiculous than the Wushuan school was that the mainland's elite camp was sealed. If you didn't meet the standards of the mainland's elite camp, you wouldn't be able to leave. Most of the people in the warriors elite camp were men. After they entered the warriors elite camp, they didn't know when they would be able to leave. Some people were still in the warriors elite camp when they were 30 years old. Their personal problems couldn't be solved. As a result, even the dinosaur female martial artists were highly sought after. Every year, when new martial artists entered the warriors elite camp, they would see a large banner outside the camp. On it was written, "Dear junior brothers, senior brothers warmly welcome you to the mainland's warriors elite camp. But please remember one thing, the new junior sisters are ours, and the senior sisters in the camp are also ours." If those junior brothers, who didn't know what was good for them, didn't believe in heresy and went in with the intention of touching the female martial artists, they would be ruthlessly taught a lesson. If it was light, they would be crippled. If it was heavy, only death would await them. The mainland's elite camp, which only the elites of the mainland could enter, didn't prohibit armed fights and magic battles. This was because the instructors all agreed that only through constant competition could the students of the mainland's elite camp become true experts. No one knew when it started, but there was a martial artist in the warriors elite camp who accidentally helped a female magician from the mainland's elite camp. From then on, the two of them became a couple. This matter later became the model of love in the mainland's warriors elite camp. After all, martial artists and magicians naturally had the advantage of complementing each other. Martial artists were good at close combat, while magicians were good at long-range attacks. When a magician was chanting, a strong martial artist could protect the magician. When the two of them fought, their tacit understanding was also higher. In this way, Those male martial artists of the right age who couldn't find a woman would wait outside the door of the mainland's magic elite camp every year when the new students of the mainland's magic elite camp reported in. If they met a female magician that they liked, they would rush up and confess. If the confession wasn't successful, then they could only openly snatch. Yin Sheng and that red-clothed girl were the last to report in this year's magic elite camp. Most of the male martial artists thought that there wouldn't be any good goods coming to their door, so they left first. Only a few male martial artists who were left behind didn't give up and stayed outside the magic elite camp. Who knew that they would really let a blind cat meet a dead mouse and meet two beauties of the highest quality? Just looking at the figures of Yun Sheng and the red-clothed girl, the few male martial artists who hadn't seen women for a long time started to salivate. The few of them didn't know what was good for them and started to discuss at the side. Hey, which one do you want? I think the one in white is pretty good. She looks sweet and has two dimples when she smiles. She's so sweet. I like the one in red. Look at her chilly face. I like this kind of style. The few of them didn't even notice whether Yun Sheng and the red-clothed girl were willing or not. Yin Sheng's hearing was good. Coupled with her experience in the Wushuan Limitless School, when she combined a few of them's conversation, she more or less understood their purpose. Who would have thought that the mainland's warriors' elite camp would have such an unconventional tradition? However, with Night Fox's beauty, even in the mainland's warriors' elite camp, where there were very few female martial artists, she should be very popular. Yinshin couldn't help but think sourly. Chapter 539. On the other side of the continent's elite magician camp, there were several magicians lurking in the forest, watching this scene with their eyes. It was a group of older magicians from the elite magician camp, both male and female. They also noticed what was happening outside. One of them was a male magician with short brown hair who looked to be 16 or 17 years old, with a few freckles on his nose. He also vaguely saw the two female magicians outside, and from their appearance, they seemed to be quite good-looking. Do you want to go up and help? Recently, the continent's elite warrior camp has been too excessive. A few days ago, I heard that a new female magician was forcibly taken away. I don't think it's necessary. Those two came late, so they must have a sloppy temperament. They should be taught a lesson. Besides, they can't even deal with a few trash from the elite warrior camp, so they don't have the qualifications to join the magician camp. We don't accept trash here, otherwise they will only drag us down during the blood refinement. The one who spoke was a female magician. When they heard the word blood refinement, the others were silent, not daring to speak. Her appearance was above average, but when she saw the appearance of Yun Sheng and the red-clothed girl, her eyes flashed with obvious jealousy. Another two vixens had come. At a glance, she could tell that they weren't good women and would definitely come to fight for the favor of her senior brothers. The female magician couldn't wait for the two female magicians to be taken away and their chastity sullied. This way, there would no longer be a place for them in the continent's elite magician camp. Yin Sheng's eyebrows slightly raised. Just a moment ago, she felt a powerful magic fluctuation. Based on her intuition, it came from 500 meters ahead. It seemed that there were already people in the magician camp who had noticed their embarrassing situation, but those people seemed to have the mentality of watching a show and didn't intend to help. They just arrived at the continent's elite magician camp, and they want to show off their strength? Yin Sheng understood that competition was everywhere. Even in the continent's elite magician camp, vicious competition was inevitable. In this kind of place, if they didn't show off their strength as newcomers, they were afraid that they wouldn't have good days in the future. The red-clothed girl on the side was very impatient. She didn't say much and quickened her pace, wanting to pass by those unreasonable martial artists. But who would have thought that a wide-mouthed martial artist would reach out and stop her, a vulgar smile on his face as he reached out to touch the red-clothed girl's face. Hey, junior sister, why are you in such a hurry? Could it be that you can't wait to throw yourself into senior brother's arms? How could the girl in red tolerate such frivolity? Her bright eyes spat out an angry roar as she pulled out her magic scepter. Like a sword, she sliced towards the warrior's finger. Yun Sheng's eyebrows twitched when she saw her magic scepter. That was... The first soul stone was... No wonder she felt that the red-clothed girl looked familiar. She was actually the princess of the eastern capital, Dongwang whom she had met once many years ago. When Yun Sheng and Dongwang Ling were 6 years old, they went on an adventure together and obtained their first soul stone for each other. At that time, although the two of them were young, they were each other's first comrade-in-arms. This friendship didn't disappear with the passage of time. In the past few years, Yun Sheng and Dongwang Ling had grown up quite a bit. They were no longer as immature as they were when they were children. Yun Sheng's appearance and temperament had changed even more. She was completely different from the country bumpkin who had just come out of Banana Leaf Village. It was only because Dongwang Ling didn't recognize her. Reuniting with an old friend, Yun Sheng couldn't help but feel a bit excited. She didn't expect that the two of them would actually join the continent's magic elite camp together by chance. There were already 4 magic soul stones on Dongwang Ling's magic scepter. Compared to Yun Sheng, her magic scepter was actually 1 grade higher. It could be seen that in the past few years, she must have been very hard-working in her magic cultivation. A thunder explosion ball made sizzling sounds, and with a bang, it smashed towards that male martial artist. That male martial artist didn't expect that the other party would be so vicious right from the start. He was also shocked. The few martial artists beside him also became alert at the same time. Thunderclap, prison. Dongwang Ling's face was expressionless as she quickly chanted. The thunder explosion ball suddenly exploded, and countless lightning bolts crazily rushed towards that martial artist. It formed a thunderclap prison. The martial artist, who was trapped within the prison, let out a series of miserable shrieks. In just a short while, the martial artist, who was originally still alive, was instantly burned into charcoal. His appearance was indescribably miserable. Not far away, the few magicians who were quietly watching were all shocked by the red-clothed girl's vicious attack. Yun Sheng was also tempted in her heart. It's only been 6 years. How did Dongwang Ling become like this? Even if a living person died in front of her, she would still be indifferent. In the past, just by seeing a dead person, she would be so scared that her face would turn pale. Who wants to try again? Dongwang Ling's beautiful face was ice cold. Her gaze was like a knife as it swept past those martial artists. All of the martial artists took a step back and automatically opened up a path for Dongwang Ling to pass through. Dongwang Ling also ignored Yun Sheng and directly walked towards the depths of the continent's magic elite camp. Yun Sheng opened her mouth to speak, but the remaining few martial artists had already surrounded her. TSK, looking at her beautiful appearance, I didn't expect her to be a choking pepper. Those martial artists were still unwilling to give up. They once again set their sights on Yun Sheng. Yun Sheng was dressed in white, and her black hair was like the clouds. Her appearance was very otherworldly, just like a fairy that had descended into the mortal world. Those martial artists also noticed that Yun Sheng was just a magic master. It's impossible for both of the freshmen to be so monstrous, right? Little junior sister, you must be scared, right? Look at how pale your face is. One of the martial artists, who was relatively good-looking, spoke with a tender tone, like a big bad wolf approaching Little Red Riding Hood. He walked towards Yun Sheng step by step. F***CK, you're the one who's pale. I was born with fair skin. Yun Sheng scolded in her heart. However, a sweet smile appeared on her face. Senior brothers, you guys aren't bad people, right? You guys really just want to be friends with me? She looked just like a little white rabbit, causing the cultivators to forget about the tragedy that had happened earlier. They all smiled and surrounded Yun Sheng. Little junior sister, don't be scared. We are all good people. We just want to be friends with you so that we can take care of each other when we go out on missions in the future. Don't worry, we will be very gentle. That's good. I will also be very gentle. However, senior brothers, I have a principle when making friends with people. Yun Sheng said with a smile. On her face, 2 dimples could be seen. Her smile was so sweet that it could drown a person. The eyes of those martial artists were all straight. All of them were thinking in their hearts that they had earned a lot today. Although the little beauty in front of them was a bit sinister, this little beauty made up for everything, especially her pair of eyes that could speak and her clear and melodious laughter. The few of them were completely unaware that they had already been bewitched by Yun Sheng's Shenong eyes. Chapter 540. Yun Sheng took out the exquisite ice zither from her storage ring. I like music the most. Therefore, there is a requirement for being friends. The other party must be someone who understands music. Senior brothers, listen to this. If anyone can understand my zither music, we will be good friends. These warriors were all boorish people. They didn't know anything about music, but in front of the little beauty, pleasing her was the key. They all nodded their heads desperately. They were all willing to be Yun Sheng's soulmates. What the hell is that freshman doing? The magicians who were hiding at the side were all confused. Why were the last two freshmen so strange? One was like an ice cube, killing people without blinking. The other one was actually surrounded by a group of perverts. She even said that she wanted to make friends with the zither. Could it be that this female magician was a fool? The zither music lingered in the air. Yun Sheng actually sat on the ground. Her slender fingers were casually plucking the strings of the zither. Dressed in white, her eyes were like water. Under the green shade, Yun Sheng seemed to blend into the surroundings. Just the scene alone was enough to make people intoxicated. The few martial artists were also intoxicated by the story. Yun Sheng's plump lips curled into an imperceptible sarcastic smile. Her zither music suddenly changed. That change couldn't be detected by ordinary people. But it was this subtle change that made the warriors who were listening to the zither music suddenly jump up. They seemed to have lost their minds and started attacking each other. Every move was fatal. They were all ruthless. It was as if the other party had snatched their wife and owed them millions of yuan. What is going on? The magicians were dumbfounded. The freshman female magician had already put away her zither. With a smile on her face, she walked over. Behind her, the group of warriors were still fighting with all their might. Senior brothers and sisters, may I ask where the dark gold instructor lives? Yun Sheng completely ignored the senior magicians who looked as if they had seen a ghost. She had just played a chapter of the Dihong song. It was the same song that Yuan Bupo had used when he encountered Yun Songlong. However, she had the Millennium Ice Zither in her hands at that moment. Moreover, with the help of Master Mo Gu, the zither had a demon-sealing effect. The sound of the zither was extraordinary. Dark gold minter, head northwest. You'll see a few thatched cottages. That's the place. The brown-haired male sorcerer was still in a daze. He pointed at a small fork in the road behind him mechanically. Yinsheng nodded with a smile and walked away. After a while, the magicians shuddered at the same time. What? Who did she say she was going to look for? Dark gold instructor. This new student must have a screw loose in his head. Absolutely. The fight at the front was not over yet. The female magician who had stopped the others from helping Yun Sheng earlier looked at the situation and ordered, "Go and pull those warriors apart. If they continue fighting, they might all die." How are we going to explain this to the warrior elite camp? The few of them went forward and used the water binding magic to forcefully separate the warriors. After separating them, the magicians realized that two of them had died on the spot, including the one who was turned into charcoal by the red-clothed girl earlier. There were 3 casualties in the warrior elite camp. The others were not in a better state. They were either heavily injured or had their flesh torn apart. Everyone couldn't help but think of the white-clothed female magician who had passed by earlier. She looked harmless, but who would have thought that her zither music would cause even more damage? Just as they were thinking about how to deal with this group of injured cultivators, a martial saint who looked like an instructor rushed over like an arrow from the direction of the mainland's elite warrior camp. It turned out that this warrior saint was called Qi Ri. Those lustful warriors were all Qi Ri's disciples. When he returned from his training today, he heard that his disciples had gone to the warrior elite camp to stop the new female magician. He scolded them for being useless and hurried over. Who would have thought that when he arrived at the scene, he would see such a miserable scene? His disciples were either dead or injured. One of them had already been burnt to a crisp, and the others were on the verge of death. Who dares to be so bold as to kill people? Chi-Ri looked at the scene and was so angry that he almost fainted. Instructor Chi-Ri, this was done by 2 freshmen. The magicians did not dare to offend the instructor of the warrior elite camp. After all, they often cooperated with the warrior elite camp when they went out to do missions. Conflicts between warriors and magicians were common, but it was the first time that they had caused so much damage in such a short period of time. 2 freshmen. They were just freshmen, and they dared to be so bold? Chi-Ri's eyes were about to burst. He picked up a seriously injured warrior and examined him. Chi-Ri's face suddenly changed. But what caught Chi-Ri's attention was that he noticed that except for one corpse that had traces of magic, the other corpses were all caused by a fight between warriors. At first glance, it must be because the other party used some kind of special magic that caused his disciples to kill each other. It seemed like there was an extremely powerful newcomer among the new students of the Continental Magic Elite Camp. Humph, today's matter, I will not let it go. Chi-Ri picked up a few warriors who were still breathing. Each of these warriors weighed about 160 or 70 kilograms. Together, they weighed about 500 or 600 kilograms. But Chi-Ri did not even frown as he carried them. He disappeared in the direction of the warrior elite camp. Central Town was the only town between the mage elite camp and the warrior elite camp. At the same time, it was the only place where the students of the 2 camps spent their time. In a tavern, groups of warriors each occupied a table and discussed their daily training with each other. A man in black sat in the corner. If one looked carefully, they would find that no one dared to approach the tables near him. The man was drinking. His eyes were deep as he looked at a pond outside the tavern. The man was about 16 or 17 years old. Because he practiced martial arts all year round, he had very attractive bronze skin. There was no excess fat on his strong body. He was only wearing a very ordinary black martial robe, but even the simplest style gave off a different feeling on his body. He did not say a word, but just by sitting there, he was like a noble god of war. His slightly wild long hair casually draped over his chest. His fox-like long and narrow gray eyes were indifferent. In the tavern, a few female warriors blushed and pointed at him. The male warriors had looks of jealousy and envy on their faces. Some people, even if they did not say a word, could still become the focus of attention. Yi Baiming was undoubtedly such a person. Chapter 541. Beside the pond, there were a few red-tailed dragonflies on the bristlegrass. Yi Baiming loved to drink at this table in the tavern. 3 years ago, ever since he came to the elite camp, he would come to this tavern for a few drinks every time he completed a training mission. He did nothing but look at the pond outside the tavern. The scenery of the pond reminded him of the situation in Banana Leaf Village. After he lost contact with Yun Sheng, he agreed to Yi Chengtian's condition and went to Banana Leaf Village. There was a scene of him and Yun Sheng when they first met. After he came to the elite camp, he kept writing letters to Jade Capital for 3 years, but he never received a reply. Unknowingly, Yun Sheng had been missing for 3 years. Even though he didn't know what happened to Yun Sheng in these 3 years and why she never contacted him, Yi Baiming knew that Yun Sheng would definitely come back. As long as she was still alive, she would definitely fulfill her promise to him and come to the elite camp. A warrior rushed in, his head full of sweat. Big news! I heard that a few of Red Sun's disciples were taken care of. Moreover, he was taught a lesson by 2 beautiful new female magicians. The moment he said this, the entire tavern went into an uproar. Other than Yi Baiming, almost all the warriors gathered around, especially when they heard that the other party was 2 beautiful female magicians. All the warriors felt their blood boil. The elite camp only recruited students once every 3 years. Every time, the warriors would fight over the resources of the new female magicians, and it wasn't the first time someone died. But when was it ever done by a magician? Those new students were either humiliated or the older student from the elite camp couldn't stand it and came out to help. In these few days, the new students' registration was coming to an end. Logically speaking, there shouldn't be many older students around the elite camp. Red Sun's disciples had also considered this factor, which was why they had set up an ambush along the way. Who would have thought that this time they would suffer for the first time since the beginning of the world? You said it was 2 female magicians, and you're still a newbie? Don't tell me you got drunk and sprained your tongue? You're speaking nonsense. How strong can a newbie female magician be? At best, she should be a master magician, right? That level of magic is like a tickle to us. We won't even be seriously injured, let alone die. A beautiful female magician? How beautiful can she be? The male martial artist who came to pass on the message became anxious. He simply jumped onto a table and said, "What are you all making such a ruckus for? This is first-hand news from me. Whoever wants to hear it, buy me some wine. 1 pot of wine to answer 1 question." Just as the male cultivator finished speaking, a cup of wine suddenly flew through the air. The wine cup seemed to have grown eyes and landed exactly in the male cultivator's hand. That male martial artist was just about to start cursing. Who was the blind one who threw the wine cup without saying anything? He lowered his head and saw that the wine cup in his hand was full. Not a single drop of wine had spilled out when he threw the cup. He then looked at the person who threw the wine cup. The bustling tavern suddenly quieted down. Everyone then realized that the wine cup was thrown from Yi Baiming's direction. Gulp. The male cultivator who reported the news swallowed his saliva. It was actually him. Yi. Junior Yi, you're here too. Did I disturb your peace? The male cultivator's name was Bao Santong. He was quite famous in the continent's elite camp. The reason why he had some fame wasn't because of his strength, but because he was very well informed. He was very clear about all the gossip in the continent's elite camp, as well as the changes in the combat strength and magic rankings of the continent's elite camp. The continent's elite camp students usually had to give him some face. But Bao Santong didn't expect that Yi Baiming, who had always been a loner and didn't like to gossip, would be interested in finding out about the magic elite camp. Don't worry about it. What's the deal with the newbie female magician that you mentioned? Yi Baiming's handsome face had a trace of abnormality. How rare. Junior brother Yi Baiming, who had always been known as an unmoving iceberg, was actually interested in the newbie female magician from the continent's elite camp. If this news were to be sold to the female cultivators in the continent's elite camp, it would definitely cause a huge uproar. Who was Yi Baiming? He was the youngest disciple who had joined the continent's elite camp 3 years ago. The welcoming ceremony for the newbies in the continent's elite camp was much more manly than the one in the continent's elite camp. A group of seniors stood at the entrance of the elite camp, greeting their juniors. Their purpose was to let the juniors know that in the future, they had to respect their seniors in the elite camp. When Yi Baiming appeared, he was immediately surrounded by a group of martial cultivators because of his godlike appearance and his noble aura. But unexpectedly, Yi Baiming retreated unscathed, while the martial cultivators who wanted to teach him a lesson were all beaten to the ground. The most ridiculous thing was that no one had found out how he did it. That was the first time Yi Baiming had shocked the world with a single brilliant feat. The second time was during the annual examination of the mainland's warriors' elite camp. Yi Baiming, who had disappeared after choosing a mentor, had once again risen as a dark horse. As a freshman, he challenged dozens of martial cultivators who were ranked in the top 200 of the martial prowess list and killed his way to rank 101st. But after he succeeded in his challenge, he didn't continue to fight. Instead, he directly gave up on the next few matches. Because according to the rules, anyone who entered the top 100 in the continent's elite camp had to undergo a special trial. Yi Baiming, for some reason, didn't want to enter the special trial so quickly. Because of his strength and outstanding appearance, Yi Baiming had many admirers even in the warrior elite camp, where there were very few female students. Even in the magician elite camp, there were many talented and outstanding female students who had a good impression of him. According to what Bosan Santong knew, the magician elite camp's famous beauty, Chunlian had a good impression of him. It was said that the two of them were close friends. Unfortunately, Yi Baiming didn't know how to flirt. He usually ignored both female martial cultivators and female magicians. other than practicing martial arts. He would drink at this table in the tavern. This had already become Yi Baiming's personal symbol. This kind of person treated him to a drink and even wanted to find out about the opposite sex. Gossip, there must be some gossip. Bosan Santong was like a cat that smelled blood. He simply ignored the surrounding martial cultivators and jumped down from the table. In a few steps, he scurried to Yi Baiming's table. When he reached the table, he didn't dare to sit down. He carefully drank a mouthful of wine. Junior Yi, you also want to know about the two female magicians? Who do you want to listen to? Is it Little Iceberg or Beauty Yuqin? Chapter 542. In just half a day's time, Yun Sheng and Dongwang Ling had already become famous in the two camps. Both of them were around the same age, and both of them were famous for being vicious and merciless. Yun Sheng was dressed in white and had an angelic face. She held a strange jade zither in her hands, which was why she was called Beauty Jade Zither. Dongwang Ling was dressed in red. Although she had a charming face, she was vicious and merciless. Yi Baiming's heart skipped a beat when he heard these two strange names and heard the zither. What's up with Beauty Jade Zither? Hee, junior brother Yi, you've asked the right person. I have first-hand information about her. Bosan sat down in front of Yi Baiming. Yi Baiming frowned. Bosan, there are only 3 people who can sit opposite me. The only people who could sit opposite him were his 2 friends and Yun Sheng. The Bosan in front of him wasn't his friend. Bosan didn't dare to ask who those 3 people were. As if his butt was burned, he stood up and thought to himself. As expected of junior brother Yi, just by frowning, he looked so good. It's a pity that he's too cold. Sigh. I wonder if I'll have the chance to see junior brother Yi smile in my lifetime. Junior brother Yi, you're asking about Beauty Jade Zither, right? I heard that she's very beautiful as a fairy. The scariest thing is that not only is she beautiful, she's also very sinister. Those martial artists had thought that she was a harmless little junior sister. How would they know that her zither music was so powerful? I was so muddle-headed that I actually let a group of martial artists kill each other. When the warriors in the pub saw that Bosan was called over by Yi Baiming, they didn't dare to go up and snatch Beauty Jade Zither. All of them stood far away. No one dared to go up. Bosan wanted to keep them in suspense and purposely paused. Beauty Jade Zither, could it be that Yin Sheng is here? But why didn't she contact me? Yi Baiming's heartbeat quickened. Bao Santong was bored of waiting. Seeing that Yi Baiming wasn't pressing him, he didn't say anything either. On the other hand, the warriors at the side couldn't take it anymore. Hey, Bao Santong, why don't you tell us where the girl is? Also, how beautiful is she? How does she compare to Sister Lan and junior sister Chun Lian in the Magic Elite Camp? Sister Lan and Chun Lian were the most outstanding beauties in the Magic Elite Camp. They were the dream lovers of countless male warriors in the Warrior Elite Camp. I heard that the appearances of those 2 young ladies are even better than those 2. No one believed Bosan Santong's words. Don't doubt it, but no matter how beautiful they are, it's useless. I heard that those 2 ladies aren't easy to deal with. One of them used the advanced spell, Heavenly Lightning Fire Prison, and the other one is even more ridiculous. Not only can her music confuse people's hearing, it also has a magic sealing effect. When Bao Santong first heard the news, he wanted to take a look at the 2 beauties. But when he saw his fellow disciples being carried back, he lost interest. Those fellows were miserable. According to Red Sun's teacher, the magic sealing effect on them couldn't be removed in a short period of time. Not only that, I also heard that Beauty Yuqin wanted a dark gold teacher as her teacher. When Bao Santong said this, everyone in the tavern sucked in a breath of cold air. No way, someone actually had the guts to ask a dark gold teacher to be their teacher. Dark gold teachers were the most eccentric teachers in the Magic Elite Camp. They were also the most cruel to their disciples. Just in the past few years, more than a dozen mages had died under their training. The biggest characteristic of a dark gold teacher was that they were mages proficient in dark magic. To most mages, especially these genius mages, dark mages were the symbol of evil. No one could understand why the continent's magic elite camp would have an additional dark magic course. AI, who cares if she's Beauty Jade Zither? As long as she's with dark gold, she's probably going to die soon. A group of cultivators sighed and urged Bao Santong that Beauty Jade Zither is going to be crippled. Why don't you talk about that little iceberg? Although a beauty was beautiful, once she became a dead beauty, there was no point in talking about her anymore. Bao Santong was still talking about that, but when he turned around, he realized that Yi Baiming had already disappeared. But when did he leave? No one in the tavern noticed. She knew how to control people with her music, sealed magic, and even found a dark gold teacher to be her teacher. It's her. Yun Sheng, it's Yun Sheng. Yi Baiming had drunk a lot today. After hearing this news, he felt that the blood in his body seemed to be surging crazily because of the effect of the alcohol. Only at this moment did Yi Baiming realize how much he missed Yun Sheng. That kind of longing might have only been hidden in the depths of his heart, but with Yun Sheng's appearance, he wanted to see her. He wanted to hug her fiercely in his arms and angrily question her. Wave after wave of impulses came one after another. Even with Yi Baiming's strong control, he couldn't control himself at this moment. He even forgot to use space-time magic. In an instant, he had already left Wushuei town and stood outside the magic elite camp. However, at the periphery of the elite camp, Yi Baiming met a few patrolling mages. It turned out that because of Yun Sheng and Dongwang Linger, those few senior mages had already returned to the camp and immediately reported the news to the mentors. The mentors were worried that the people from the warrior elite camp would be unhappy and come to cause trouble. Thus, they ordered people to patrol outside the camp. At the same time, they also ordered people to find the two new mages who were late and ask them what happened. Get out of the way. Yi Baiming's strange appearance caused the few students from the warrior elite camp to be vigilant. Among them, there were also some who recognized Yi Baiming. Yi Baiming, warriors are not allowed to enter the warrior elite camp without permission. They also knew that Yi Baiming was the most outstanding warrior in the warrior elite camp in the past 3 years. It was said that his strength was unfathomable. Even some mentors didn't know who he was dealing with. Yi Baiming clenched his fist and looked towards the depths of the warrior elite camp. The closer he got, the more he was sure that Yun Sheng was definitely Yun Sheng. After not seeing each other for 3 years, the magic soul in his body crazily longed to meet Yun Sheng's magic soul. This feeling became more and more intense as he got closer to the warrior elite camp. The consequences of barging into the warrior elite camp is not something you can bear. As the few mages spoke, they took out their magic scepters. Yi Baiming snorted. Suddenly, the sound of warrior energy flashing through the air came from behind. Chi Ri and a few ferocious-looking warriors flew over from the sky and headed straight for the elite magic battalion. Not good. The people from the warrior elite camp are here. Immediately inform the mentors. Only then did the few mages realize how serious the situation was. While they were still in a daze, Yi Baiming's figure disappeared and followed the few mentors towards the depths of the warrior elite camp. Chapter 543. At this moment, Yun Sheng was still strolling around in the magic elite camp. After taking care of those warriors who didn't know what was good for them, she kept her zither. She didn't know that in less than an hour's time, she had already become one of the most popular people in the continent's magic elite camp. The continent's magic elite camp was indeed a place where the continent's magician geniuses gathered. As Yun Sheng walked around, she discovered a lot of special magic devices. The magic lamps that could only be seen in the Royal Magic Academy were everywhere here. In a magic elite camp, there are also all kinds of devices that could be used to recover magic power. The students only needed to use 1 Empire's gold coin to obtain the right to use it once. Yun Sheng was still in the magic elite camp. She saw a lot of senior magicians who suddenly appeared and disappeared in front of her. She thought that they must have mastered the Earth Escape magic. Although Yun Sheng asked for directions just now, the magic elite camp was too big. Furthermore, there were some places that were set up with magic mazes. After walking for half an hour, she still couldn't find the residence of the dark gold-ranked teacher. Feeling helpless, she could only ask a few people along the way. In the end, when she asked them, the moment they heard that she was looking for the dark gold-ranked teacher, they were so scared that they immediately ran away as if they had seen a ghost. That's weird. Why are all of them acting as if they had seen a ghost? Yin Sheng curled her lips. She walked a few more steps forward and finally saw a low, thatched hut. In the magic elite camp, there were magic tents that were similar to Mongolian yurts. Although these magic tents didn't look like much from the outside, the facilities inside were all top-notch. According to the needs of the magic students, the magic space inside could be expanded. The level of luxury was not inferior to a normal mansion. Therefore, when Yun Sheng saw the thatched hut, she was puzzled. Why was it that the teacher's house was so much worse? Yun Sheng had just walked a few steps when she suddenly noticed that there was someone standing in front of the thatched hut. Her clothes were red like blood. It was actually Dongwang Ling, who left her behind without saying a word. Why is she here too? Yun Sheng walked forward. When Dongwang Linger saw her, she ignored her and stood at the side. Although Dongwang Ling was a bit unruly in her early years, she was a very passionate person. How did she become someone who was even colder than an iceberg in just a few years? When Dongwang Linger saw Yun Sheng walking over with a relaxed look on her face, a look of astonishment appeared on Dongwang Linger's face. Before she joined the mainland's magic elite camp, she had heard from a female court mage who had studied in the mainland's magic elite camp that the mainland's magic elite camp wasn't as beautiful as the outside world thought. This was especially true for freshmen. The first 2 years of freshmen entering the continent's magic elite camp had the highest mortality rate. 50% of them died during training, while the other 50% died due to competition between the freshmen. Therefore, there was another name on the continent. The continent's elite camp was called the Hell Concentration Camp. The mainland's magic elite camp implemented an elimination system. The chance to learn high-level magic and even profound magic was very limited. In order to fight for the limited chance to learn high-level magic, the freshmen would secretly use all kinds of methods. Therefore, the female court mage had long warned Donghuang Ling that once she met a freshman, no matter how harmless the other party looked on the surface, she couldn't trust him or her. In the mainland's magic elite camp, there was no true friendship. You are also here to look for a dark gold teacher? Yin Sheng asked. Suddenly, Yin Sheng looked at Dongwang Ling strangely. Your cultivation, what kind of special secret technique did you use to increase your cultivation? Yin Sheng was still feeling strange about how Dongwang Ling was able to increase her cultivation from an archmage to a saint mage in just a few years' time. After taking a closer look, she discovered that the magic elements on Dongwang Ling's body were very unstable. Clearly, there was something fishy about her cultivation. Who are you? Dongwang Ling pointed her magic scepter at Yin Sheng. On her iceberg-like face, a trace of killing intent appeared. How did you know that I used? You are still the same old temperament, always pointing your magic scepter at others. I have said before, magic scepters can only be pointed at enemies. Yin Sheng calmly took out her bewitching bone scepter. When Dongwang Ling saw that special bewitching bone scepter, astonishment and disbelief appeared on her face. In her mind, she was rapidly searching for all the memories related to this magic scepter. In the deepest part of her memories, she carefully hid them to hide the memories of her weakness and weakness. Unexpectedly, the fluctuation in Dongwang Ling's expression disappeared very quickly. With a pa sound, she used her magic scepter to knock away Yun Sheng's bewitching bone scepter. Yin Sheng didn't pay attention, and that bewitching bone scepter spun in the air, drew an arc, and landed on the ground. I don't know what you're talking about. Dongwang Ling turned her head away, not looking at Yin Sheng. Looking at her, it was as if she didn't know Yin Sheng at all. Could it be that she doesn't remember what happened back then? Yin Sheng was also a bit angry. Without saying a word, she bent down and was about to pick up her magic scepter. Just when Yin Sheng bent down, her ears moved slightly, and she heard a series of messy footsteps not far away. Immediately after, a wind sickle attacked without any warning. Yun Sheng and Dong Wang Ling raised their eyebrows at the same time. Yun Sheng lightly tapped her feet and used the footwork that Night Demon Queen taught her, dodging those few fatal wind sickles. The magic scepter was still far away, at the original position of the magic scepter. There was already a mark that was 2 feet wide on the magic scepter. If it wasn't because Yun Sheng dodged quickly just now, that mark would have landed on her body. Yun Sheng and Dong Huang Ling's eyebrows twitched at the same time, and a trace of hostility could be seen between their eyebrows. Who was it that actually dared to be so ruthless? Yun Sheng raised her head and saw the person who did it. A group of magicians wearing the exquisite magician robes of the elite camp ran over from the other side of the road. Yun Sheng recognized the person in the lead with a single glance. Almond-shaped eyes and willowy eyebrows. Her eyes were always filled with arrogance. It was actually Chun Lian, whom she hadn't seen for a long time. Only now did Yun Sheng recall that Chun Lian had already left Zhou State for a long time. Back then, because Yun Sheng was trapped in the immortal Zhou Nation, Chun Lian naturally obtained the qualifications to come to the elite camp together with Yi Baiming. Chun Lian's talent in magic was originally not bad. Looking at her appearance right now, she seemed to be doing quite well in the elite camp. From the looks of it, her following days in the elite camp wouldn't be peaceful. Chun Lian and the other senior magicians of the elite camp instantly arrived in front of Yun Sheng and the others. It really is you, Yun Sheng. Chun Lian hadn't seen Yun Sheng for 3 years. Chapter 544. 3 years ago, Chun Lian heard that Yun Sheng had gone missing. It was said that she had angered the elves of the immortal Keeper Nation and ended up without a corpse. After hearing this news, Chun Lian was happy for a long time. She thought that as long as Yun Sheng was gone and Yi Baiming was dead, then all the obstacles between her and Yi Baiming would disappear. But who would have thought that on the eve of her departure to the mainland's elite camp, she would find Yi Baiming and invite him to travel with her so that they could take care of each other in the future. She explained to Yi Baiming that she had received permission from the Zhou State's emperor to kill the useless crown Prince Yi Bailian. She had no other choice. Yi Baiming sneered and ignored her, leaving Jade Capital alone. Chun Lian did not give up. She went to the mainland's elite camp first, thinking that time would change everything. Yun Sheng was gone. As the 2 geniuses chosen by the Zhou State, she and Yi Baiming would definitely fall in love with each other. But who would have thought that Yi Baiming would always be indifferent to her? What was worse was that just a month ago, she found out from the Chen clan's letter that Yun Sheng had returned to Jade Capital safely. What was even more infuriating was that not only did she return, she even helped old General Yun break through to Martial Emperor Yun Sheng. Every time she returned, nothing good would come out of it. Since that day, Chun Lian had been looking forward to Yun Sheng's arrival at the mainland's elite camp, because only then would she be able to teach Yun Sheng a lesson. She wanted to let Yun Sheng know that in the past 3 years, she, Chun Lian, was completely different from before. Yun Sheng's magic scepter was still lying not far away. Chun Lian stood to the side, empty-handed. When she saw Yun Sheng's appearance, a trace of resentment flashed across Chun Lian's eyes. After 3 years of not seeing each other, Yun Sheng had become even more beautiful. In the past, Chun Lian was barely comparable to Yun Sheng in terms of appearance. But now, after the baptism of the spring of life, Yun Sheng, whose temperament was similar to that of a fairy, was far superior to Chun Lian. In particular, her eyes were especially beautiful. They were as bright as the most resplendent diamond and as deep as a serene lake. They were captivating, refined, and carried a bit of charm. This kind of Yun Sheng made even Chun Lian, who was also a woman, feel dazed. Chun Lian was shocked. If Yi Baiming saw Yun Sheng like this, no, he definitely couldn't let him see. Yun Sheng also noticed that Chun Lian's cultivation had improved a lot compared to before. 3 years ago, Chun Lian's magic cultivation was only a master magician. But now her magic scepter was embedded with 4 magic soul stones, and they were all wind-type magic soul stones. She was now a saint magician. The continent's magic elite camp's training was indeed worthy of its reputation. It was very difficult for anyone to break through to become a saint magician in 3 years in any other place on the continent. Chun Lianer also saw the rare look in Yun Sheng's eyes. She was secretly pleased. I didn't think that you would have a day like this. Every dog has its day. Chun Lianer sneered. She was no longer the Chun Lianer of the past. She also noticed that there were only 3 magic soul stones on Yun Sheng's magic scepter that had rolled to the side. It had been 3 years, and Yun Sheng's cultivation had not improved. Ha! She was just an ordinary master magician. There was a magic realm difference between her and Chun Lianer. In the continent's magic elite camp, the weakest of the new students was at least a mid-stage or peak master magician. Most of the older students were saint magicians, and the top 50 were even sky magicians. People like Yun Sheng could not have a foothold in the continent's magic elite camp. Chun Lianer naturally did not know that Yun Sheng was also a saint magician. However, her 4th soul stone was the Night Demon Queen's soul stone. Others could not see it with the naked eye. Yun Sheng now looked like she was only at the level of a master magician. This was also deliberately done by Yun Sheng. In a place like the continent's magic elite camp, there were as many geniuses as dogs. Compared to them, she would rather be a mediocre person who pretended to be a pig to eat a tiger. What Chun Lianer was talking about was naturally the time when Yun Sheng knocked her magic scepter out of the ground 3 years ago. The magicians behind Chun Lianer also chimed in. Chun Lianer's mentor was a senior mentor in the continent's magic elite camp. Chun Lianer was his new disciple. She was now considered a top figure in the continent's magic elite camp. She was beautiful, had a sweet mouth, and had a good family background. She was generous. In these 3 years, there were many magicians who admired her or tried to curry favor with her. Among the magicians who were watching the new students being bullied at the entrance, one of them was under the same mentor as Chun Lianer. When she told Chun Lianer about the new students' appearances, Chun Lianer knew that one of them was actually Yun Sheng. Thus, she rushed over with the goal of embarrassing Yun Sheng. That's right. The so-called river flows east and river flows west. Isn't it referring to people like you, Crown Princess? AI, that's not right. That short-lived former crown prince has passed away. I should call you former crown princess. AI, that's not right. I forgot that you were the crown princess of the former crown prince before. The correct way to address you should be double material consort. It's been a long time since we last met. Double material consort. You're still as beautiful and charming as before. Yun Sheng had a teary look on her face. Chun Lianer was very afraid of mentioning Yi Baiming's death in front of others. That would cause others to misunderstand that she had a fate of bringing bad luck to her husband. She was even more afraid of people mentioning the marriage between her and Yi Baiming when they were young. That would cause others to misunderstand that she was a fickle and vain woman. In the continent's magic elite camp, there were very few people from Zhou State. Thus, there were even fewer people who knew about Chun Lianer's background. Normally, when she was in elf camp, she would always have the attitude of a cold beauty. Who would have thought that when she saw Yun Sheng today, Yun Sheng would actually reveal her past completely with just a few words? Immediately, those admirers behind her started to discuss among themselves. Although Dong Wanglinger didn't know about the conflict between Yun Sheng and Chun Lianer, when she saw Chun Lianer's arrogant look, she didn't like it. However, who would have thought that Yun Sheng would actually counterattack like this? Chun Lianer couldn't even flare up at Yun Sheng, and her face became as long as a horse's face. Yun Sheng, you little bitch, don't think that you can get away with it just because you have a sharp tongue. As a new student, you have just reported to the Magic Elite Camp, and you have already killed a fighter and heavily injured a few others. You are clearly trying to provoke the conflict between the Magic Elite Camp and the Fighter Elite Camp. Chun Lianer was so angry that smoke was coming out her 7 orifices due to Yun Sheng. In the continent's Magic Elite Camp, It was very common for seniors to use their status and strength to suppress freshmen. Therefore, those teachers wouldn't casually get involved in this. In a few thatched houses behind her, two black figures were looking outside. One of them was a woman. The other person was standing at a corner of the house that was hiding from the light. Thus, one couldn't see her face clearly. The two of them were looking at everything that was happening outside. Chapter 545. Teacher, those two seem to be new students. From the looks of it, they are here to learn dark magic from you. Now that they are being bullied, do you want me to? The girl in the house seemed to be very amiable, but from time to time, shrewdness would flash across her eyes. No need. If you can't even deal with a few mediocre people, you don't have the qualifications to be my student. The earlier you scram, the earlier you can scram. The voice of the magician that spoke was hoarse. The two of them looked outside the window. The age, appearance, and even the gender of the magician were unclear. However, the magic power that was emitted from the magician's body carried traces of dark magic. Outside the thatched house. Condemn? You mean to say that I have to cooperate with the warriors of the warrior elite camp when they are teasing and insulting me? Then, I dare to ask the few of you here, is this the continent's warrior elite camp or a brothel? How much is the dignity of the warrior elite camp worth? Yin Sheng's pupils shrunk, and the aura that she was emitting suddenly changed. The expression of Chun Lianer and the others changed. Just when the few female magicians were about to flare up, a trace of joy appeared in Chun Lianer's eyes. Impudent! Where did you come from? You actually dared to call us warriors of the continent's warrior elite camp brothel patrons. In the sky, a few more warriors appeared. Behind their backs, there was a pair of battle chi wings. Every single one of them was dressed in martial attire. Even though they were looking at them from afar, they were all martial saint experts. Yin Sheng and Dongwang Linger's heart trembled at the same time, especially Dongwang Linger. She didn't expect that she would see so many martial saints the moment she arrived at the continent's warrior elite camp. In the eastern capital, there were only one or two martial saint experts. The continent's warrior elite camp was indeed filled with experts. While feeling shocked, Dongwang Linger couldn't help but feel anxious for Yin Sheng. In her impression, Yin Sheng was just being cautious. But today, why did she speak so carelessly? Yo, after beating up the students, a teacher came. However, it's fine. If you want to come, then come together. After all, we, the warrior elite camp, don't have any teachers or backing. If we're crippled or dead, we'll just admit that we deserve it. We're just unlucky to encounter something like a martial artist bullying a magician. After Yin Sheng finished speaking, he glanced at the straw hut behind him from the corner of his eyes. Let's see how long you're going to endure. You're the sorceress who attacked. You're so young, yet you're so vicious. I can't let you live. In the sky, the martial sage was so angry that his hair stood on end. Originally, he just wanted to find the female magician who used the demon sealing technique to suppress the battle chi of the disciples. He wanted to ask her how she did it and teach her a lesson. After all, the other party was a freshman while he was a teacher. Furthermore, he was the one in the wrong. But who would have thought that he would hear this female sorcerer describe the disciples of the elite camp as brothels? How could this be? Such a student must be taught a good lesson. Funny, really funny. You said that I killed and injured your disciple. If I didn't resist, what would have happened to me? Only the magistrate is allowed to set a fire, but the commoners are not allowed to light a lamp. Who would have thought that the instructors of the continent's elite camp are only so-so? Yin Sheng had a sharp tongue. The other party was only a martial artist. In terms of verbal skills, they were no match for her. I was the one who killed them. If you want to fight, count me in too. Dongwang Linger took out her magic scepter. The moment she took out her magic scepter, Chun Lianer noticed that she was also a saint magician. A freshman is also a saint magician. Only now did Chun Lianer notice that the female magician who came with Yin Sheng to look for the dark gold rank teacher was better than the others in terms of both appearance and cultivation. You're quite loyal. Since that's the case, let's see how powerful the elite camp is. Yinsheng nodded her head towards Dongwang Linger. The latter hesitated for a moment, then nodded her head as well. Yinsheng took out a magic robe from her beast language ring and said, "Here, this is a greeting gift for you. I originally planned to give this to the dark gold rank teacher, but he doesn't seem to be around right now." Dongwang Linger caught the magic robe. Just when she touched the corner of the magic robe, suddenly, the magic robe was snatched away by someone. The voice of the person who suddenly barged in was a bit hoarse. Her appearance was even weirder. She was a middle-aged female magician. Her eyes were actually a pair of weird pupils. She looked like a ghost. Yinsheng noticed that when the dark gold-ranked teacher appeared, Chun Lianer and the other magicians couldn't help but take a few steps back. From the looks of it, they seemed to be very afraid of this teacher. It was as if something would happen if they were to get a few steps closer to him. Dongwang Linger had a face full of curiosity. She didn't pay much attention to the strange appearance of the dark gold-ranked teacher. The dark gold-ranked teacher was one of the magic teachers of the elite camp. At the same time, he was also the only dark magician in the elite camp. The magic teachers of the elite camp were also divided into different grades. They were the preparatory teacher, beginner teacher, intermediate teacher, and advanced teacher. The grades of the teachers were differentiated according to the corresponding color of their clothes. The preparatory teacher's clothes were blue, the beginner teacher's clothes were orange, the intermediate teacher's clothes were red, and the advanced teacher's clothes were gold. Although the dark gold-ranked teacher's name had the word gold, he was wearing an orange teacher's robe. He was only a beginner teacher. However, the few martial sages in the sky were wearing red robes. They were all intermediate teachers. Furthermore, the other party had 4 people while the dark gold-ranked teacher only had 1 person. At first glance, the dark gold-ranked teacher was obviously at a disadvantage. However, she didn't have the slightest bit of fear on her face. After the dark gold-ranked teacher appeared, he wasn't in a hurry to ask about the ins and outs of the matter. His pair of weird eyes landed on Yinsheng's face. In his eyes, there were 2 Yinsheng's reflection. "Little girl, you're quite scheming." From the moment Yinsheng opened her mouth to the moment she threw out the magic robe, the dark gold-ranked teacher had seen the entire process. She provoked him step by step. She was very smart. "Teacher, you're too polite. How can I compare to you in terms of composure? The magic robe in your hand was given to you by Master Mo Go. See if it's suitable. If it's not suitable, I can help you modify it." Yinsheng smiled. This smile was like a beautiful scene. Even though the dark gold-ranked teacher was a woman, she couldn't help but be dazzled by Yinsheng's smile. "You know Mo Go? You know how to modify magic robes?" The dark gold-ranked teacher was more concerned about Yinsheng's words. The mages on the side, including the martial sage teachers in the sky, couldn't help but be shocked when they heard that Yinsheng knew Mo Go and even knew how to modify magic robes. Everyone in the elite camp of the continent knew Mo Go. In other words, everyone in the elite camp of the continent, regardless of whether they were from the martial sage elite camp or the magic sage elite camp, hoped to obtain one of MOG's magic robes. To a martial sage, a magic robe could effectively resist magic attacks. To a mage, it could increase magic agility and magic defense. It was a treasure that everyone wanted. However, in the entire continent, other than the immortal abode nation, there was only one person who could make magic robes, Mo Go. Chapter 546. Mo Go was an old man with a strange temper. If he liked someone, he would give him a magic robe for free. If he was not willing, even if he gave him 10,000 purple gold coins, he would still be indifferent. Looking at the magic robe in his hand, Dark Gold discovered that this magic robe was completely different from the other magic robes he saw before. It was light and exquisite, looking like the work of the elves. Could it be that Mo Go had reached the age where he had 1 foot in the coffin and his crafting skills had reached a new level? Why didn't he advance earlier or later? Why did he have to make a breakthrough right after the arrival of this fairy-like girl? Dark Gold took a glance at Yinsheng and saw that she was also wearing a magic robe. With one look, Dark Gold's pupils suddenly shrank. Her pupils merged together, forming a dark brown pupil. Hiss! Even though Dark Gold had been a teacher in the continent's magic elite camp for tens of years, he was still unable to see through this female mage who had the aura of an elf and a human. Dark Gold took another look at Yun Sheng's magic scepter. With this look, Dark Gold almost jumped. What kind of configuration is this? A mutated magic soul stone, a demon soul stone, and an elf fire soul stone. TSK, TSK, TSK. Dark Gold sighed in his heart. No wonder MOGE's crafting skills increased greatly. It turned out that he met the inheritor of elf fire. Dark Gold thought about Yun Sheng's words and actions and came to a conclusion. Yun Sheng also handed over the recommendation letter that Grandmaster Gu asked her to bring to Dark Gold. Yun Sheng did not know what was written in the letter. However, after Dark Gold read it, his expression became more amiable. You, from today onwards, will be my student. Dark Gold pointed at Yun Sheng. Dark Gold teacher, please accept me as your student too. Seeing that Dark Gold accepted Yun Sheng, Dongwang Linger was waiting for him to continue. However, Dark Gold did not even look at her. Instead, he looked at the few martial saint teachers in the sky. The few of you, do you really think that there is no one in my magic elite camp? How dare you take advantage of your seniority and bully Dark Gold? As soon as Dark Gold finished speaking, the magic scepter in her hand that looked like it was made of cast iron hit the ground hard. There was almost no chanting, but the ground shook and 4 streams of dense black gas rose up like 4 tornadoes. The tornadoes were actually 4 black flood dragons. The horned flood dragons rose from the ground like 4 abysses. Wherever they passed, the leaves and plants would disappear without a trace. The 4 Jiao winds surrounded the Dark Gold instructor like 4 ferocious beasts. They were filled with murderous intent. The Dark Gold instructor's face was as cold as ice, and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. The expressions of the martial saints changed greatly. And Jean, you've got guts. We'll come back another day. The few martial saint mentors who had been majestic just a moment ago did not even try to fight back. They immediately fled as if there was oil under their feet. Their appearance was as pathetic as it could be. They no longer had the arrogance that they had when they were cursing Yun Sheng. Yun Sheng and Dongwang Linger felt relieved. At the same time, they were also shocked. They did not expect that a beginner instructor would be able to scare off 4 martial saints with a single move. Seeing this, the 2 of them were even more certain of one thing. Dark magic was indeed extraordinary. Both Yun Sheng and Dongwang Ling were people who wanted to learn dark magic even before they entered the continent's magic elite camp. However, the 2 of them had very little understanding of dark magic. Yun Sheng was slightly better. She knew that she had accidentally learned dark thorns in the Royal Magic Academy. It could be considered as a type of dark magic. However, Dongwang Linger was different. This was the first time that she had truly witnessed the power of dark magic, especially the Dark Gold instructor's magic. Without chanting, without any signs, he was able to unleash a destructive power. This completely overturned Dongwang Linger's understanding of magic. In her heart, Dongwang Linger thought that if she could learn dark magic from him, her magic cultivation would definitely be higher in the future. After the Dark Gold instructor scared off the martial saints, the group of mages led by Chen Lianer did not dare to stay any longer. Immediately, they scattered like birds and beasts. Before Chen Lianer left, she glared at Yun Sheng and said, Yun Sheng, don't be complacent. I hope that I can still live to see you again next time. What she meant was that Yun Sheng would not be able to live for long. Yun Sheng did not understand what Chen Lianer meant by that. Could it be that this Dark Gold instructor looks normal? No, he looks abnormal and has some unspeakable fetish. Yun Sheng shivered. However, when she thought about it, when Grandmaster Gu recommended her, he did not say anything bad about Dark Gold. Grandmaster Gu should not be lying to her. Thinking up to here, Yun Sheng felt relieved. You must be the new junior sister, right? I am your big senior sister. Kaling, a female, mage walked out from behind the Dark Gold instructor. She was a slender, northern woman. Her appearance was very pretty, and she had a warm smile on her face. Clearly, she had also heard that the dark gold instructor had agreed to accept Yun Sheng as his disciple. Thus, she walked out to express her goodwill. However, Yun Sheng did not have any good impression of this woman, who looked very amiable. This was because this woman, called Koling, actually looked very similar to the daughter of the Health Bureau's director, who was together with that scumbag Lu Minglang in her previous life. My name is Yun Sheng. Yun Sheng simply greeted her. Dark Gold Instructor, I also want to become your disciple. Dongwang Linger took a step forward. She was a living person, yet the Dark Gold Instructor had treated her like air. If it was anyone else, they would feel insulted, let alone Dongwang Linger. The Dongwang Linger that Yun Sheng knew was the arrogant little princess from the eastern capital. Even though she had become friends with Dongwang Linger still had the arrogance of a royal family. However, at this moment, Dongwang Linger was biting her lips. Within her pair of beautiful eyes, there were traces of grievance and pleading. Even Koling couldn't bear to see Dongwang Linger like this. Using forbidden medicine to rashly increase your magic cultivation. You might be able to fool the examiner, but you can't fool me. Scram, I, Dark Gold, do not accept liars. The Dark Gold Instructor did not agree to Dongwang Linger's request and was about to leave. Dongwang Linger was dumbfounded, as if she was struck by lightning. She didn't know whether to leave or stay. Yun Sheng was speechless. Seems like the Dark Gold Instructor had also discovered Dongwang Linger's secret. Dongwang Linger's talent in magic was not bad. However, she was definitely not a genius. The reason why her magic cultivation increased by leaps and bounds was because she had violated the rules of the magic elite camp. During the examination, she had used forbidden medicine, which allowed her to fake her magic cultivation. Little girl, it's better for you to leave. Kuling comforted Dongwang Linger. No, Dark Gold Instructor, my magic cultivation is indeed not high. However, I can train harder than anyone else. If you don't accept me as your disciple, I will kneel here and not get up. Dongwang Linger didn't say anything and knelt down. She had actually completely abandoned her identity as a royal princess and knelt down in front of an unfamiliar mage that she had only met once. A trace of doubt appeared in Yun Sheng's eyes. What exactly had happened to make such a proud and unparalleled young girl become like this? Chapter 547. Just when Yun Sheng was about to plead for Dongwang Ling, she suddenly felt a burning gaze on her back. Dark Gold, who was originally planning to return to the thatched cottage, suddenly changed his gaze. As if facing a great enemy, he stared at a certain direction in front of him. There's actually a fish that slipped through the net. A pair of black magical wings suddenly appeared on Dark Gold's back. Boom! Like a cannonball, Dark Gold charged towards the bushes in front of him. Although Dark Gold was a magician, her movement technique was not at all inferior to a martial saint's. It was incomparably sharp and as fast as the wind. On the ground, a black flood dragon broke out from the ground and devoured the bushes in front of it. Then, a figure rushed out from the bushes. The figure seemed to not be afraid of Dark Gold's black flood dragon. With a shake of the back of his hand, a half-foot-long sword made of chi whizzed out. Rumble! The sword was like a 10-mile-long rainbow as it slashed towards Dark Gold. Wait! Night Fox! Instructor Dark Gold, it's one of us. Yun Sheng immediately saw the figure. Although she was panicking, she didn't try to avoid it. She had already activated a wind magic and stood between the two of them. As it turned out, the person who just arrived from the bushes was Yi Baiming. When Yi Baiming received news about Yun Sheng, he was extremely anxious. When he rushed over, he just happened to see Dark Gold make a move and scare off the martial saints. After that, his gaze, and even his breathing, were all attracted by the beautiful figure outside the thatched cottage. Little wild cat. Yi Baiming's gray eyes were like a pool of water, reflecting Yun Sheng's face. 3 years. 3 whole years. The person that he thought about day and night, the person that made him unable to eat or sleep well, was standing right in front of him. Unknowingly, Yi Biming walked out. He even forgot that he was a member of the warrior elite camp. Dark Gold thought that Yi Biming was a fish that slipped through the net. Thus, he made a move to counterattack. When the two of them started fighting, only then did they realize that the other party wasn't simple, especially Dark Gold. When Yi Biming appeared, she had already noticed that he was just a student. However, when she wanted to withdraw her hand, it was already too late. She just didn't expect that this excessively handsome young male warrior would have such strength. He was able to calmly condense his Do Chi into a sword and slash apart her black flood dragon in a single strike, even when facing a powerful enemy. This kind of courage and strength far surpassed that of the martial Saint instructors from before. Yin Sheng's sudden appearance caught Yi Biming and Dark Gold off guard. The two of them stopped their attacks at the same time and stopped in midair. Little girl, who is he to you? Dark Gold was also experienced. He could tell at a glance that the relationship between Yun Sheng and Yi Biming was not simple. He's my friend Dash, Yun Sheng was about to speak. I'm her man, Yi Biming said confidently. Yun Sheng almost choked to death at his words. Her face immediately turned red. She raised her fist and gave Yi Biming a punch. Yi Biming, on the other hand, was all smiles. His handsome face looked even more enchanting. Ahem. Dark Gold saw the two of them flirting and muttered in his heart. Children nowadays are really precocious. However, this was also good. This male warrior was very strong. His temperament and appearance were also first-rate. He could be considered a good match, but Dark Gold's eyes lingered on Yi Biming for a while. With just one glance, Dark Gold's heart skipped a beat. This feeling, his pupils contracted rapidly. This man was actually a genius, truly a peerless genius. Who would have thought that a genius that had not been seen in the mainland's magic elite camp for thousands of years would actually join the mainland's warrior elite camp? Dark Gold stared at Yi Biming like a gambler who had seen gold ingots. In Yun Sheng's eyes, that look was like an old pervert who had seen the best beauty. Dark Gold wouldn't like an old cow to nibble on young grass, right? Yi Biming was also sizing up Dark Gold. He had heard a lot about Dark Gold when he entered the mainland's warrior elite camp, but this was the first time he had seen him in person. After all, this was related to Yun Sheng's magic training. Yi Biming had to be careful. What a pity, what a pity. Everyone has their own ambitions. Dark Gold shook his head and motioned for Ku Ling to go back with him. Little girl, today is your first day of registration. You should walk around. 3 days later, your first training will begin. Yun Sheng saw that Dark Gold was staring at Yi Biming one moment, and the next moment, he turned around and left with a cold expression. Yin Sheng didn't know what Dark Gold was planning to do. Dong Wang Ling was still kneeling on the ground. From start to end, everything that had happened had nothing to do with her. Yin Sheng took a glance at Dong Wang Ling. Just as she wanted to say something, she was pulled away by Yi Biming, who couldn't wait to talk to Dong Wang Ling. Yi Biming dragged Yin Sheng and walked for half a mile. The mainland's magic elite camp was very big. After walking for half a mile, Yi Biming still didn't stop until they reached an empty lake. In his hand, the girl's hand was soft, cold, and so real. The two of them hadn't seen each other for 3 years. Just now, Yin Sheng was too focused on stopping Yi Biming that she didn't even notice the changes in him. Only after being dragged by Yi Biming all the way did she notice the changes in Yi Biming's body. After not seeing each other for 3 years, Yin Sheng wasn't the only one who had changed. Yi Biming's transformation was also very obvious. He had grown a lot taller. Yi Biming, who was 1.8 meters tall, had grown more than half a head taller. He was already close to 2 meters tall. Looking from the back, he was more than a head taller than Yin Sheng, who was 1.7 meters tall. His shoulders had also grown a lot wider. His skin was still the same beautiful wheat color. His muscles were all over his body. Even though he was wearing a warrior's robe, one could still clearly feel the power hidden in his body. Yi Biming had already grown into a man. His palms were very big. Yin Sheng could only hold half of his palms. His hands were very hot, while Yin Sheng's hands were very cold. Night Fox, take a break. I can't keep up with your footsteps. Yun Sheng cursed in her heart. He was bullying her with his long legs. He must be struck by lightning. Who knew that it would have been better if she hadn't said anything? The moment she said that, Yi Biming suddenly braked. The next moment, he stretched out his long arm and wrapped it around Yun Sheng's waist. He carried her in his arms like a princess. Regardless of whether she was willing or not, he flew up a towering tree with her. The wind whistled in her ears. Before Yun Sheng could react, she had already been carried by Yi Biming to a secluded thicket of branches. This way, even if someone passed by below, they wouldn't discover their tracks. Yun Sheng was about to scold him. This guy was getting more and more unreasonable. What was the meaning of this? Did he think she was a monkey, running around with a tree? Yi Biming didn't give her a chance to speak at all. After carrying her up the tree, he suddenly turned around and placed Yun Sheng on his knees. Ha! What do you think the fox will do next? Smile wretchedly. Money and rewards, you guys are very awesome. I will also be awesome. Chapter 548. Yun Sheng's lips opened and closed, looking very provocative. Yun Sheng was afraid that he would sneak up on her again, so she covered her mouth in horror. Seeing that the fearless Yun Sheng had such a reaction, Yi Biming laughed out loud. The man's hearty laughter echoed in the forest, making Yun Sheng even more embarrassed. She gave Yi Biming a punch in annoyance. However, he accurately caught her hand and pulled her into his arms. Yi Biming pressed his chin against Yun Sheng's hair. Her soft and fluffy hair touched his heart. He had been waiting for this moment for more than 3 years. Does it hurt? He was also a little angry just now. When he thought of how Yun Sheng had disappeared without a word for more than 3 years, he hit her a little harder. Hurt your head. Who do you think you are? How dare you hit me? Growing up, even my father didn't dare to hit me. Yun Sheng exploded. She ignored Yi Biming's hands and took the opportunity to touch her body. She grabbed Yi Biming's iron arm and bit down. Who knew that Yi Biming's arm was very hard? Yun Sheng bit down, and her teeth ached, but Yi Biming didn't react at all. Ugh. Yun Sheng was really at her wit's end this time. In terms of magic, her Dharma soul was naturally weaker than Yi Biming. In terms of strength, she was no match for Yi Biming. In terms of strategy, she was also no match for this black-bellied fox. Yun Sheng was angry and annoyed. She could only stare at him. All right, stop fooling around. Yi Biming was in a good mood because of Yun Sheng's behavior. He couldn't help but steal another kiss on her lips. If you like kissing so much, go find someone else to kiss. Yun Sheng was so angry that she punched him again. Yun Sheng's mind was in a daze from the kiss just now. After thinking about it, Yi Biming's kissing technique was pretty good. How could he be so good at kissing when he was all alone in the continent's warrior elite camp? Needless to say, he had lived a good life these 3 years. Thinking of Chun Lianer and the various beauties in the continent's elite camp, Yun Sheng felt sour in her heart. You are this prince's fiancé. This prince will only kiss you. Yi Biming was in a good mood after the beating and kissing. To hell with your fiancé. I want to break off the engagement. Yun Sheng also remembered her father, Yin Songlong's warning to her earlier. Originally, she had planned to find Yi Biming to break off the engagement after settling down in the continent's elite camp. Who knew that after Yi Biming's interruption, she had forgotten about this matter. Yun Sheng had always had an indescribable special feeling towards Yi Biming. Meeting again after 3 years, this feeling was even stronger. Yun Sheng didn't know what was going on. In the 3 years in the immortal residence, Yun Sheng and Shun Feng were also very close. But Shun Feng was different from Yi Biming. Shun Feng had no lack of intimate actions towards her, but he had never done anything out of line. At most, he would rub her head and pinch her nose, treating her like a child. But Yi Biming was different. Whenever he got close, Yun Sheng felt her heart beat faster. That kiss just now had messed up Yun Sheng's mind. When she and Lu Minglang were dating, they had also kissed intimately. But the feeling was completely different from when she was with Yi Biming. Yun Sheng had a faint feeling that Yi Biming was a dangerous person. Every time she met him, she would be abnormal. Dangerous people must be kept away from. Break off the engagement? You got guts. When Yi Biming heard this, he was unhappy. He pretended to lean over again, scaring Yun Sheng so much that she hurriedly pushed his chest with both hands, not allowing him to get any closer. His gray eyes seemed to emit a wolf-like light. Yun Sheng groaned inwardly. Who said that he was a night fox? His appearance was clearly that of a big bad wolf. I have someone I like. Yun Sheng remembered that she and Yi Biming had an agreement. If the two of them had someone they liked, they could break off the engagement. Yi Biming's expression changed. His gray eyes were filled with anger, and a murderous aura emanated from him. Who is it? Yi Biming clearly believed her. Who? Yun Sheng was frightened by his appearance. Yi Biming's eyes seemed to say that if Yun Sheng said a name, he would tear that person to pieces. Shun Feng. Immortal Abodes, Shun Feng King. Yun Sheng did not believe that Yi Biming would run to the Immortal Abode to find Shun Feng. On the Immortal Abode's royal tree, Shun Feng, who was reading through memorials, sneezed. He looked around suspiciously. Immortal Abodes, Shun Feng King. He is the reason why you stayed in the Immortal Abode for 3 years. Yun Sheng, good. You are very good. Yi Biming believed her. Immortal Abode's Shun Feng King was known as one of the Wuji Five Walls. Although Yi Biming had never seen him before, it was rumored that Shun Feng King was a descendant of the elves. He was blessed with magic, and his temperament and appearance were like that of a celestial. His little wild cat, had she reached the age of liking someone? Clenching his fists tightly, Yun Sheng was a little afraid of Yi Biming's expression. Then we can break off the engagement, Yun Sheng said bitterly. She had brought up Shun Feng as an excuse, but looking at Yi Biming's expression, not only was she not happy, she felt that her mood had worsened. Seeing his furrowed brows, Yun Sheng wanted to reach out and smooth his brows, but she resisted the impulse in her heart. Impossible, little wildcat. In this lifetime, you can only be this prince's woman, Yi Biming said coldly. Night Fox, you are too unreasonable. I don't like you, so why should I marry you? When Yun Sheng found out that she couldn't break off the engagement, she didn't know what to feel. She didn't seem to be unhappy. Could it be that she didn't want to break off the engagement with Yi Biming? Yun Sheng was shocked by her own thoughts. Just because you stole half of this prince's soul, you have to take responsibility for this prince. As for that Shun Feng King, you are not allowed to like him, and you're not allowed to think about him. Otherwise, this prince will kill him sooner or later. Yi Biming said domineeringly. His tone made Yun Sheng's teeth itch. Kill the Shun Feng. Yun Sheng was tongue-tied. If someone else said this, Yun Sheng would definitely laugh out loud. She would laugh at him for being an idiot. An ordinary human actually wanted to kill the future elf king. But Yi Biming was different. If he said it, he would definitely do it. Only Yun Sheng knew how terrifying Yi Biming's power was. I can't be bothered to argue with you. Yun Sheng couldn't win against him. She suddenly thought of something. Night Fox, you're so nervous. Could it be that you really like me? Yun Sheng thought back. Night Fox's attitude towards her had indeed changed. He had insisted on being her retainer. Even the matter of the engagement had been brought up by him. Why did Yun Sheng suddenly have the feeling that she had been set up? Yi Biming was speechless by Yun Sheng's question. After a while, he said hatefully, Yun Sheng, you are really slow. Chapter 549. With that, Yi Biming's handsome face was already flushed red. In order to hide his embarrassment, Yi Biming jumped down from the tree. Anyway, he had already found Little Wild Cat. In the future, as long as she was in the mainland's magic elite camp, Yi Biming would not be afraid that she would run away. As for that Divine Wind King, he had plenty of ways to make Little Wildcat forget about that man. Little Wildcat's man could only be him. He jumped into the air, and a pair of dookie wings appeared on his back. Thinking about how Yun Sheng had been with that man called Divine Wind for the past 3 years, Yi Biming's mysterious power began to stir. He had to send someone to investigate this matter. Yi Biming was not joking when he said those words just now. If he really investigated and found out that Yun Sheng really loved Divine Wind, he would kill Divine Wind at all costs. Even if he had to use the entire country's power, he would not hesitate. His gray eyes had also turned a faint red. Afraid that he would hurt Yun Sheng in his impulsiveness, Yi Baiming simply left. The shape of the Duki wings was very similar to Yun Songlong's. Yun Sheng suddenly widened her eyes. She suddenly realized that Yi Baiming's cultivation as a warrior had broken through to the martial sage realm in just 3 years. Oh my God, can he be more monstrous? A 16-year-old martial sage. Yun Sheng felt that her little heart was not enough for today. A 16-year-old martial sage. If this matter were to spread to the mainland, it would probably cause a huge uproar. Yun Sheng then remembered that she had originally planned to ask about the death of the former crown Prince Yi Baiming after reuniting with him. Unfortunately, she had not spoken much with Yi Baiming, thinking about a certain someone's kiss just now. Yun Sheng could not help but be stunned for a while. By the time she came back to her senses, the evening wind was blowing coolly against her cheeks. By the time the two of them had reunited, the sky had already darkened. Under the night sky, the continent's magic elite camp was filled with trees. They looked like green clouds that were close to the sky. Yun Sheng bent down and looked down. Suddenly, she realized a problem. Her magic scepter was still outside her dark gold mentor's house, as was her luggage. His beast language ring was still hidden in his luggage. Everything happened so suddenly that Yun Sheng didn't have time to retrieve her magic scepter. Without the magic scepter, the effects of her magic would be greatly reduced. She was also not a sky magician. Looking at the situation, she would have to climb down this tree that was tens of meters tall. Yi Baiming, you bastard! In a vast forest, the girl's angry roar echoed. After Yun Sheng came to the magic elite camp, she concealed her identity as a summoner for safety reasons. There were many experts in the continent's magic elite camp. In order to avoid being discovered, Yun Sheng could only climb down from the tree pitifully. When she returned to the dark gold mentor's straw house, the sky was already completely dark. In the continent's magic elite camp, she could faintly see the light of the illumination magic circle. Under the illumination of the illumination magic circle, she could see that Dongwang Linger was still kneeling there. Her head was lowered, and she was wearing a red magician's robe. She looked lonely. Yun Sheng walked over and picked up her magic scepter and luggage. Then, she looked at the straw house. There was no sound in the dark gold mentor straw house. At this time, a normal magician would be meditating. Yun Sheng did not expect that Dongwang Linger would really be kneeling outside the dark gold mentor's house like what she said. You can get up. The dark gold mentor is not a soft-hearted person. If a person was soft-hearted, how could they become an expert in dark magic? Yun Sheng did not understand why the dark gold mentor would reject Dongwang Linger. It seemed like Dongwang Linger had done something that made the dark gold mentor dislike her. It's none of your business. If he doesn't agree, I will continue to kneel here. Dongwang Linger's face was a bit pale. The continent's magic elite camp was located in a dense forest. During the day, the temperature was quite high. However, during the night, when the night wind blew, it would be quite cold. Dongwang Linger was only a magician. When she set off, due to some reasons, she was delayed and almost couldn't make it in time to report. She rushed through the night without eating or resting. Her body was already unable to take it. Why do you want to learn dark magic? Also, why do you want to take forbidden medicine? This kind of forbidden medicine can temporarily increase your magic power, but it will definitely have side effects on your future cultivation. Yun Sheng was also very surprised by Dongwang Linger's change. With Yun Sheng's level of alchemy, she was confident that she would be able to concoct a magic potion that could increase one's magic power without any side effects. However, that was also because Yun Sheng had the Elf's Hellfire and the Water of Life. Other potioneers definitely wouldn't be able to concoct a magic potion that could be comparable to the Elf's Hellfire. If Dongwang Linger didn't guess wrongly, the side effect of the magic potion that Dongwang Linger took was that her magic power would be greatly reduced. It's none of your business. When a forbidden medicine was mentioned, Dongwang Linger suddenly became irritable. Right after she finished speaking, she suddenly felt dizzy, and with a plop, she fell onto the ground. Seeing this, Yunsheng hurriedly went forward and checked Dongwang Linger's breathing. How did this happen? Yunsheng was shocked. After checking Dongwang Linger's body, she discovered that within Dongwang Linger's body, there was a very strange magic power that was moving around. What a reckless fellow. She must have used some sort of special forbidden medicine that caused her magic soul to mutate. However, her body is unable to endure the backlash from using her dark magic soul. She won't be able to live for more than a few days. Who was Dark Gold? With a single glance, she was able to tell that Dongwang Linger would definitely be affected by the backlash from using the forbidden medicine. Who said that she won't be able to live for more than a few days? Yunsheng retorted. Senior Sister Ku, help me carry her inside. Yunsheng held on a Dongwang Linger. Kuling, who rushed out after hearing Dongwang Linger's voice, took a look at Dark Gold. The latter didn't say anything. Only then did Kuling boldly carry Dongwang Linger inside. After carrying Dongwang Linger into the straw hut, Yunsheng began to carefully examine Dongwang Linger's body. What Dark Gold said wasn't wrong. Dongwang Linger had indeed taken a forbidden medicine. It was very possible that she also knew that this forbidden medicine was very dangerous. However, she still took the risk. Just what was the reason for Dongwang Linger to do such a thing? Yunsheng sighed. She took out the Four Seasons colored glass needle and ignited the hellfire in her hand. You're also a doctor? The reason why Dark Gold didn't stop Yunsheng from carrying Dongwang Linger into the straw hut was because she wanted to see what Yunsheng was planning to do. She saw that Yunsheng had suddenly taken out the needle. Then, she looked at the way Yunsheng was using the needle and discovered that Yunsheng was actually a doctor. Wasn't Dongwang Linger a weaponsmith? Why is she also a doctor? From the looks of it, this little girl still has a lot of secrets on her. Dark Gold became even more interested in Yunsheng. Yunsheng didn't pay attention to her. Right now, all of her thoughts were focused on Dongwang Linger. First, she used the hellfire to heat up the Four Seasons colored glass needle. Then, she used the tip of the needle to prick Dongwang Linger's 10 fingers. On the tip of Dongwang Linger's fingers, thin black blood flowed out. The black blood dripped onto the ground. After a while, the blood slowly turned red. The moment Dongwang Linger wakes up, let her leave. This place doesn't allow outsiders to stay. Dark Gold said coldly. She can't leave. She has already named you as her teacher. If you don't take her in, she won't be able to establish herself in the magic elite camp. While Yunsheng was speaking, the eyelashes of Dongwang Linger, who was lying on the bed, trembled. Chapter 550. When Yunsheng helped her into the room, Dongwang Ling had already woken up. As a doctor, Yunsheng had already noticed that Dongwang Ling-er's breathing was a bit hurried. It was obvious that Dongwang Ling had already woken up. However, the two of them tacitly chose not to say anything. Their goal was to change the mind of the Dark Gold ranked teacher. The continent's magic elite camp was a unique place in the continent to nurture mages. The training mechanism here was also very special. Teachers and students could choose from each other. After a student chose a teacher, the teacher could choose to accept or reject the student. However, if a student was rejected, the other teachers would also not accept the student who was rejected by the other teachers. You have also noticed that her strength is not enough for her to have a foothold in the continent's magic elite camp. Originally, she might have the cultivation of a master mage, but after taking the forbidden medicine, her cultivation might not even reach the level of a master mage. She is unable to meet the minimum requirement of the continent's magic elite camp. Dark Gold was disgusted that Dongwang Ling actually took the forbidden medicine with the intention of deceiving her. I didn't have the intention to deceive you. Dongwang Linger crawled up from the ground and hurriedly explained, I only wanted to be able to attract your attention and become your student. That's because I heard that your conditions for recruitment are extremely harsh. In order to stand out from the new students, Dongwang Ling took the forbidden medicine. She originally thought that with her cultivation of a saint mage, she would be able to become the student of the dark gold-ranked teacher. Who would have thought that she would be seen through with a single glance? Now that she was suffering from the backlash of the medicine, her cultivation had indeed fallen to the bottom. It was very likely that she might not even be a master mage anymore. This caused Dong Wang Ling to be filled with regret. Dark magic, among all magic, was the hardest to learn. However, once one learned it successfully, it would also be the magic that would allow one's cultivation to increase the fastest. With your mentality, it is impossible for you to learn dark magic well. Even if you learn it, you will still stray onto the path of the devil. Since you have already woken up, just leave. Although Dark Gold was a dark mage, she hated those mages who wanted to stray onto the path of the devil the most. Even if I stray onto the path of the devil, I still want to learn dark magic. The Eastern capital and my family need my protection. Dong Wang Ling kneeled down and kowtowed 3 times towards Dark Gold. You are a descendant of the East dynasty? Dark Gold was startled. All these years, there have always been people who wanted to assassinate my imperial brother and imperial mother. I want to learn dark magic and protect them. When Dong Wang Ling thought of this, her expression became even more resolute. Dark Gold also sighed. Coincidentally, when Dark Gold was young, he had a relationship with the Dongwang royal family. She was originally a dark magician who was despised by everyone on the continent. By chance, she received a recommendation letter from the Dongwang dynasty and joined the magician elite camp. She didn't expect that after 10 years, she would meet a descendant of the Dongwang dynasty again. And Jean sank into deep thought. If she didn't remember wrongly, the person who recommended her to join the continent's magic elite camp was Dongwang Ling's father, the previous Eastern Emperor. The daughter of an old friend, teacher Dark Gold, I actually have a way to cure the poison in Linger's body. Furthermore, I can also think of a way to raise her magic cultivation. As long as she recovers her magic cultivation, she will be able to stay in the continent's magic elite camp. Yinxing didn't know what Dark Gold was thinking. However, she could tell that Dark Gold was no longer as against Dongwang Ling as before. She grabbed the opportunity to plead for Dark Gold. Yunsheng's acupuncture technique was outstanding. Furthermore, she had the spring of life with her. With these two combined, she would be able to cure most of the poisons in the world. Moreover, Yunsheng knew that Goofing and Abandon were also in the magician elite camp. One of them was proficient in light magic, while the other was proficient in poison. If the 3 of them were work together, they would definitely be able to cure Dongwang Ling. Don't be too full of yourself. The 2 of you don't think that you will definitely become a dark magician after joining my tutelage. Let me tell you, the 2 of you will have to endure at least 2 years of training before I will officially teach you magic. Dark Gold didn't agree or deny. However, she also didn't ask Dongwang Ling to leave. What she meant was that Dongwang Ling could stay. Hearing what Dark Gold said, Dongwang Ling was overjoyed. Dongwang Ling thanked Dark Gold repeatedly. As for Ko Ling, who was watching from the side, her eyes dimmed. After Dongwang Ling stayed behind, due to the limited number of thatch cottages that Dark Gold had, Dongwang Ling and Yunsheng were arranged to stay in the thatch cottage on the left. Yunsheng tidied up the thatch cottage. Dongwang Ling stood beside Dongwang Ling for a while, then said embarrassedly, "I'm sorry, Yunsheng." The reason why Dongwang Ling apologized to Dongwang Ling was because she was cold and indifferent towards Yunsheng. In actuality, when Dongwang Ling found out about Yunsheng's identity, Dongwang Ling was also overjoyed. However, when Dongwang Ling recalled the warning that the Dark Gold magicians gave her before she left the palace, Dongwang Ling became a bit more apprehensive. However, Yunsheng didn't have any intention of blaming Dongwang Ling. Instead, Yunsheng helped treat Dongwang Ling's injuries and pleaded for leniency. This caused Dongwang Ling to feel very guilty. Dongwang Ling thought that after 6 to 7 years had passed, Yunsheng would have undergone some changes. However, Yunsheng was still the same Yunsheng from back then. You're still the same as back then. You haven't changed at all. You don't need to feel embarrassed. Back then, when Chunlian and her group of people came to find trouble with me, didn't you also want to help me? Yunsheng had long since noticed that Donghuang Ling who could have stayed out of the matter, didn't help her directly. However, when Qinlian and her group of people provoked Donghuang Ling Donghuang Ling subconsciously stood up for Donghuang Ling Just this point alone was enough for Yunsheng to recognize Donghuang Ling as her friend. After Donghuang Ling spoke her mind, Donghuang Ling became a lot more lively. Donghuang Ling pulled Yunsheng and asked her a lot of things about Yunsheng in the past few years. While the two of them were chatting happily, Kaling could be seen walking into the thatched cottage. In her hands, Kaling was carrying tea and some food. Since Yunsheng and Donghuang Ling had both become the disciples of a dark gold-rank teacher, Kaling had become their big senior sister. Yunsheng and Donghuang Ling had also noticed that there were only the three of them in the thatched cottage. Big senior sister, all right, why haven't I seen the other senior brothers and sisters? I heard that there are quite a lot of people in the continent's magic elite camp. Donghuang Ling wanted to establish a good relationship with Kaling first. Haha, there are only the three of us as the disciples of a dark gold-rank teacher. Or rather, in the future, there will only be the three of us. Could it be that before you all chose your teacher, you all didn't try to find a dark gold-rank teacher? Kaling looked at the two young ladies in the thatched cottage. These two young ladies both had looks that would cause others to be jealous of. Previously, when she thought that the dark gold-rank teacher would only accept Yunsheng as his disciple, she thought that in the future, she would only have to deal with one of them. However, she didn't expect that the dark gold-rank teacher would also accept Donghuang Ling as his disciple. However, this is also good. Even if I have to deal with one of them, I still have to deal with two of them. With a smile on her face, Kaling pulled Yunsheng and Donghuang Ling to sit down. What's so special about a dark gold-rank teacher? Isn't she the only dark magician in the continent's magic elite camp? Donghuang Ling had a curious look on her face. You all don't know? Kaling had a worried look on her face. Then, you all must have never heard of the hellish training of a dark gold-rank teacher, right? Chapter 551, Hellish Training? Before Yunsheng came to the Magic Elite Training Camp, she didn't know anything about the teachers here. For example, she only managed to find a dark gold-rank teacher because of Grandmaster MOG's recommendation. I'm afraid that I will scare you all. Before you all came here, other than me, the other students either couldn't endure the training and ran away, or they all went crazy. The junior sister who is staying in this thatched house was extremely unlucky. During the training, she accidentally lost her head. Kuling made a beheading gesture. Fear could be seen on Donghuang Ling's beautiful face. Suddenly, a chilly wind came from an unknown place, and a magic illumination formation in the room started flickering. Donghuang Ling was so scared that she shivered. She looked at the surroundings, and sure enough, the thatched house was filled with a ghostly aura. She grabbed onto Yunsheng, and her body couldn't help but shiver. When you all sleep tonight, you all have to be careful. Before leaving, Kuling reminded them out of kindness. Senior sister, what do you mean by be careful? Donghuang Ling didn't understand what Kuling meant. This room is a bit strange. The two junior sisters and one senior sister who were sleeping in this room earlier on have either gone crazy or died. Don't you all feel that this room is especially cold? Kuling sighed, then walked out of the room. Haha, thank you for your reminder, senior sister Kuling. Yunsheng took a look at Kuling and didn't take Kuling's words to heart. Then, I won't disturb the rest of the two junior sisters. I have prepared some food and water here. As for your 3 meals, you all can go to the cafeteria. Every day, from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m., from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., and from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., the cafeteria serves your 3 meals. Kuling took a look at Yunsheng. What surprised Kuling was that this junior sister who looked delicate and weak, and whose cultivation level was also lower than hers, didn't seem to have any abnormalities. From the looks of it, her main target was still Yin Sheng. Right after Kaling walked out of the room, Yin Sheng stopped smiling. Yin Sheng, is what our big senior sister said just now true? Dongwang Linger had a pretty good impression of Kaling compared to the eerie dark gold-ranked instructor. Kaling looked much friendlier. She even brought food over. Don't believe everything. I think there's something wrong with that person. Yin Sheng felt that something was wrong. She then checked the food brought by Kaling one by one and found nothing unusual. You're saying that senior sister Kaling wants to harm us? Why? She has no enmity with us. Dongwang Linger was a bit hungry. After seeing that Yin Sheng had confirmed that the food wasn't poisonous, she sat down and started eating. You don't even know what's going on, and you're already in a hurry to take her as your master. Every magician, especially a brilliant magician, would usually have their own profound magic. And their profound magic would only be imparted to the disciple that they are most proud of. Yin Sheng suspected that the death or madness of the magicians who came to learn was related to Kaling. However, she had just arrived at the continent's elite magician camp and didn't know anything. For safety's sake, it would be better for her and Dongwang Linger to ask around tomorrow morning. When Dongwang Linger heard Kaling she hurriedly put down the food and looked at the surroundings. She couldn't help but shiver. After being reminded by Kaling, Yin Sheng discovered that this room was a bit cold. What are you thinking about? Go and sleep early. Yin Sheng patted Dongwang Linger, and the latter unwillingly went to make the bed and rest. The two of them had been busy for the entire day. Thus, they went to sleep early. In another room of the thatched cottage, Kaling smiled sinisterly. Two newbies who don't know the difference between life and death. Let's see if they will be scared into idiots later. In the latter half of the night, Yin Sheng was woken up by Dongwang Linger. Dongwang Linger was shivering from the cold. Yin Sheng, go and take a look. Is there someone outside? Just now, I seem to have seen a shadow passing by outside the window. After hearing what Kaling said, Dongwang Linger became very suspicious. Even after falling asleep, she still couldn't sleep well. Yin Sheng walked outside the window and looked outside. The starry sky outside was just right, and the wind was cool. There was nothing outside. Suddenly, the illumination magic formation let out a zzz sound, and the light in the room flickered. For a moment, the room was filled with a ghostly aura. Yin Sheng was just about to go and check the illumination magic formation. Ah! Dongwang Linger screamed and pointed outside the window. Just now, a white-clothed shadow passed by the window. This time, Dongwang Linger saw it clearly. She became more and more convinced that this room was haunted. Yin Sheng, let's not stay here anymore. I'm scared. Dongwang Linger pulled Yin Sheng and was about to walk out of the room. What are you shouting about? It's the middle of the night. How are we supposed to sleep? If you can't sleep, then scram. From the room next door, the impatient voice of the dark gold rank instructor could be heard. Don't panic. Drink a cup of tea to calm your nerves. Yin Sheng poured a cup of tea and added a small amount of Dachira lotus leaves into the tea. This herb, if taken in small amounts, could be used to calm one's sleep. Dongwang Linger didn't suspect anything. After drinking the tea, she calmed down a lot. After putting on her clothes and sleeping, she quickly fell asleep. Yin Sheng checked the illumination magic formation and discovered that the magic formation inside the room had been changed by someone. After extinguishing the illumination magic formation, the room was soon immersed in the darkness of the night. Rustle, rustle. The window was gently opened. A white-clothed figure crawled into the room. The figure groped its way to the side of the bed. Just as the figure was about to attack, a black figure suddenly dashed out from a corner of the room. That black figure was precisely Xiao He, whom Dongwang Linger hadn't seen for a long time. With Xiao He's skills, the white figure wasn't able to react in time. Xiao He exerted its strength and used its 4 limbs to press down on the white figure. It revealed a mouthful of sharp teeth and fiercely bit down on the white-robed ghost. The current Xiao Hei's attack power was comparable to that of a 9th-ranked demonic beast. With just a mouthful of teeth, it could even bite through a top-notch helmet. The white-robed ghost struggled for a while, and soon it stopped breathing. Yun Sheng, who was on the bed, sat up. Her gaze was sharp. She walked forward and lifted the white cloak. Inside the cloak was a small beast. With Yun Sheng's eyesight as a summoner, she could tell that the small beast was a 2nd or 3rd-ranked demonic beast. However, she didn't know who it was that pretended to be mysterious in the middle of the night and put a cloak on the small beast. There was a pair of wings on the small beast's back. Just now, it was the small beast that pretended to be mysterious outside and moved around randomly, causing Dongwang Linger to be frightened. Yun Sheng looked at the small beast. The other party was actually a summoner. However, it was a summoner of the lowest rank. Only summoners of the lowest rank would use the language of beasts to enslave a low-rank demonic beast. Xiao Hei, you did well. Don't expose your identity. Return to the beast tower immediately. Yin Sheng cleaned up the small beast's corpse. Under the night sky, her black eyes were even brighter. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.